And welcome to the Redeye stream. It's 3:35 on the West Coast. And we're going to talk some news today, and also I want to talk a little bit about Star Trek 4. It is back from the grave, if it was ever really buried to begin with. Let's start with that. This article, I skimmed over it, Jez, and it says that Paramount had never actually said that they shelved it. It was just unconfirmed rumors. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
the
I found that
actors themselves said that they walked out of negotiation. How is that unconfirmed exactly?
exactly because if I remember the story right, didn't Chris Pine walk out of talks and it was like all over because they wanted to do some wacky time travel thing and get Chris Hemsworth back in as Kirk's dad?
I think he walked out over money, mainly, is what I heard, but it could have been the plot as well. Some actors, get their panties in a bunch over the plot.
Well, I think after I can't remember the actor's name off the top of my head, the guy who played Chekhov who unfortunately died. I think once that happened, I think the crew, if you want to call it that, were like, oh well, we can't really go forward and whatnot. And after the failure, which was Star Trek Beyond, because it was a fucking bomb, and nobody liked that movie, the Fast and Furious in space. So, it was pretty much dead in the water, I think. And I think this guy's come back and said, yeah, basically, let's move ahead, see who we can get on board. Apparently, Chris Pine's on board and Zach Quinto's on board, but we haven't heard any more confirmations other than that. So,
Do you think those two will end up being, I don't know, known as the new Kirk and Spock? Or are they just filling shoes that are way too big for them?
Oh, I don't think that they're filling shoes that are way too big for them. But the problem they're going to have is the same problem they've been having, which is the writing sucks.
yep.
You're not going to change, all right? People, can talk what they want about the Star Trek and the Next Generation and how the movies were so much worse or so much better, however you want to talk about it. But the movies, at least, all right, if you take a look at it, the premises, even the beginning premises, are so much superior. Even the first Star Trek movie its premise is so superior to anything that they've been pulling up, all right, lately. It's just that they destroyed the franchise. Let's be perfectly honest here. They've destroyed the franchise. It's not coming back.
Not as we know it, Jim.
Well,
Hey,
let's
Farty.
yeah, hey Farty.
Hey, what's up, what's up?
Let's look at the article a little bit. Trekkies rejoice. I never Trekkie or Trekker, whatever. But anyway, Star Trek 4 is officially back on track after several months of uncertainty. Back in January, it was reported that the movie had been shelved after the underperformance of Beyond, as well as doubts over the return of Chris Pine as Kirk. Yeah, one last time. Do you think he left over money or plot?
Money. Let's be honest. He would sit up there. If you gave him enough money, he would sit up there and it wouldn't matter what the plot is. That's obvious.
Yeah, it's all about the cash. It always is. Cash is king, baby.
Yeah, do this or else we're not going to give you any more jobs.
Now that could be a concern too. I will admit that he might be concerned that he's starting to get typecast as a worse actor than frickin' William Shatner. That might be one of the things that's bothering him.
I think Shatner's a lot more credible than Chris Pine.
That's my point.
maybe they threatened to renegotiate Chris Pine's contract and include that he has to do a version of Mr. Tambourine Man dramatic speaking.
Rocket Man, dude.
Yeah, but I believe Shatner was a good captain.
Hey there, Alki.
Hello.
Well, William Shatner was a good Captain Kirk. That's true, but then again, he created the character.
Oh, come on, man. He was a
for all
knockout.
intents and purposes.
He was a knockout TJ Hooker.
Believe it or not, that was an extraordinarily popular franchise here in the U.S. As much as I hate to say that.
I've got a meme with that. William Shatner's walking up the street with his baton sort of raised, and the caption is set battens to hippie bash.
Well, I liked Shatner in Boston Legal, and that's something he did when he was much older. And he wasn't crazy. I mean, he played kind of like he was going senile because he was just that old.
But what a role. Pop goes the weasel. Denny Crane.
Didn't he fucking murder his wife, though, and get away with it?
Well, I like the part in Boston Legal where Alan Shore is got the gun pointed at him, right? And Shatner walks into his office, and those two chicks are in there, and he's like, "Oh, I know what this is." And starts to get naked.
Oh, man. That's when David E. Kelly used to produce some good shows, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the shows used to be about pushing the envelope in one direction or another. I mean, you had the good shows and you had bad shows, but now you don't even have that. You just have bland shows.
Yeah, it's just safe. It's safety by numbers, Hurricane, isn't it?
Yeah,
Don't defend anybody. Don't be edgy. Don't be anything. Just play it safe.
Well, we're going to get to that part in this article, actually. So let's continue. Paramount never officially commented on the reports. We covered that. Let's see. Deadline reported on November 19th that Fargo and Legion creator Noah Hawley.
Hawley.
I'd
say Hawley.
Was in final talks to write and direct Star Trek IV. This would be separate to the Quentin Tarantino spin-off. I want to talk about that. That is apparently still in the works and would continue the rebooted timeline that was started with J.J. Abrams' reboot in 2009. Sadly, it means that we won't be getting this dumb bitch directing Star Trek 4. Not sadly, gladly. I would like to make an editorial decision.
I can actually just see this Tarantino version. Fucking, it'd be Samuel L. Jackson playing Kirk, and he'd be like, "Beat me up, motherfucker!"
I don't even know who that chick is, but I'm just glad she's not making anything.
I know, right? Like, you just don't want her anywhere near the Enterprise.
You know, judging just by that photograph, there's an agenda attached.
What is this that she's going to be a part of? What's this marble thing behind her?
Oh, I don't know what that is. The Damned or something like that? What? No?
Can't figure it out.
Hang on, who is she? She's some slaphead Sheila?
Her name is S.J. Clarkson.
I was just reading watching an article yesterday about fucking the third episode of The Mandalorian. Apparently, it's written by directed by Sheila, and they're all going gooey in the gusset over it.
Well, having seen the third episode, it's no different from in directorial styles than the other two.
I just got a whole problem with glorifying that kind of a character. I mean, like, he didn't really even do his job properly. Vader ended up doing his job for him, and then by the end of it, he gets bumped off the shit in the big fucking sand vagina and fucking like a bitch.
Different dude altogether, Barty. It's a different character.
Apparently she's going to be doing the Defenders.
That's it. The Defenders. That's what's behind it. Yeah.
Oh, didn't Netflix already can that though?
No. That was the Inhumans. What got canned after one season.
Yeah, so she's going to mess up the Defenders.
Well, it's not going to be the original Defenders from back in the old comic books anyway, because that was like Doctor Strange, Silver Surfer, the Hulk, and this new Defenders. Actually, how old is that photograph? You know what I mean? That could be the Defenders on Netflix.
Yeah.
Because the Marvel worked because they stayed to the stories that already existed. The moment they start trying to do something beyond the stories, that is when they mess up.
I just had a quick look at that photos of the Sheila there, and yes, that does scream diesel dyke.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, but what I
No,
want to talk about
that's
here,
got to be a really old picture,
what I want to talk about here is the Quentin Tarantino movie. Okay,
which is never going to happen.
it is going to happen,
It's
and
not.
it
Jesus
was
Christ.
supposed to be prime timeline.
Do
though.
you really
They-
think Tarantino is going to lower himself and make a fucking Star Trek movie? Come on.
It's his idea. He wants to make it. He's
It's
a big
not
Star
gonna
Trek
happen.
fan.
He might be a big Star Trek fan. He said he was going to do 10 movies. And I can't see his last one being a fucking Star Trek movie.
Well, the way I understand him is that he usually tends to do one movie for the money and then one movie that he wants to make.
Yeah. It's never going to happen, man. That's just the media trolling with all these channels. That's all that is. Tarantino is never going to do a Star Trek movie.
Well, okay, for the sake of argument, let's go with the fact that he is, because he said he is.
No, he
Now-
hasn't. No, he
Yeah,
hasn't.
he has. He
Not-
has.
He hasn't
has.
said, I am going to do a Star Trek movie.
Captain,
Yes,
I've just seen an
yes.
alien. Does he look like a bitch?
He has not said in the actual words that he is going to do a Star Trek movie. He's never said that.
Oh, bloody hell. Okay, anyway, the premise of the movie he wants to do is based on the Prime timeline. This is calling it a spin-off of the Abrams timelines.
Yeah,
I don't like the sound of that.
Well, like I was saying before we come on air, Dodge, it's still going to be bad reboot, bad robot, who are still in charge of the production. So it's going to be along that Calvin timeline. Any new Star Trek movie which comes out, especially if Chris Pine's in it, it's obviously that timeline.
Well, let's be honest. If they wanted to have a decent show, they could have done it. All right, but they blew it when they the way they did it. They went about it, and their idea was that fans would tolerate the reboot, and they got Leonard Nimoy to bless it, to give his blessing to it, right? Saying, well, it's just, there's nothing wrong with trying to reboot this. Yeah, there is something wrong when you try to reboot it when you can't freaking write dialogue worth of shit. And you change, and you intentionally change all the main characters into things that they're not, that they were never to be. There is so much room that was available if you could have, that they had available, even, prior to, all this stuff. You had a whole history that you could have played around with, if you want to do some kind of prequel. But not only didn't they do the prequels right, okay? They were already destroying Star Trek even before then. Let's be perfectly honest.
Yeah, especially given that you already had the structure of using new captains whenever you want to do basically a new version, so to speak. You didn't need to do a reboot.
Hey, Aaron, I enjoyed the Kelvinverse films, but don't want a fourth one at current rate. I don't know if I can trust the fourth film to be a decent film. None of the other ones were decent. Why would you make that assumption?
You're not going to start making a masterpiece 4 times down the line, are you?
Well, no, and I want to say thank you for the £5 super chat, Aaron. Appreciate it. And I am going to give you guys a little bit of pushback. The 09 movie was fairly decent. And
What?
well, maybe it's the sentimental thing, because that's kind of the first movie me and my
Right,
wife
so
watched together when we were dating.
So when you walked out of the theater, then Dodge, after seeing Star Trek in 2009, you didn't think, well, that just negates everything and destroyed the entire timeline. Next Generation doesn't exist. Fucking the original series doesn't exist. Deep Space Nine doesn't exist. because that's what that film did. It destroyed the fucking timeline.
It made a whole new timeline. Trek has messed with timelines before. They are proponents of the multiverse theory. Just like that's why there's a mirror universe and everything else. You can make this all make sense.
Let me stop you there. Mirror universe. What's the everything else?
Mirror universe.
Yeah.
The time that I'm going down the line. The time that the Enterprise C came through the nebula in a time bubble, and all these Enterprises appeared. Remember that episode of TNG?
Yesterday's Enterprise.
Yeah, that's when you saw the multiverse in action. That was all separate timelines with the Enterprise. Some were damaged, some were, better, some were worse. It was a bunch of different time bubbles.
Okay, but that doesn't that's fine, all right? And I would have been fine if they would have gone back when they did this and they tried to do this, all right? If they just said, okay, this is gonna be separate and we're gonna do an entire different timeline. But they didn't do that, did they? And not only did they do that, all right, they entirely made it ridiculous. All right, let's go back to the first one of these where they go back and they talk about the Kobayashi Maru test. All right, they screwed that entire thing up.
How'd they screw it up? You're supposed to lose, and if you can hack it to rig it, then why not do
It's
so?
the way he did it and the fact that Spock was the one who wrote it.
As far as I remember,
I
in
was
the original
confused.
series, the Kobayashi Maru was always left ambiguous. Oh, how'd you do it, Kirk? And then it was never answered. But just to say, oh yeah, he hacked the computer and all that seems a bit of a cop out.
Well, no, and I like where MC was going here. There's no way Spock could have wrote it because Spock had to go through it himself, right?
Well, Spock said he didn't go through it, and that's fine. But you got to remember, Spock, all right, was already in Starfleet a number of years, all right, before Kirk. He was already serving, all right, on a starship. You can't come back and then come around and say, well, he's also one of the instructors in Starfleet.
Yeah, no, and what did you think about the beginning of the 09 movie where they show Spock being just screamed at and berated by these other Vulcan kids? I don't ever remember Spock saying he was... Well, no, first off, teasing.
Right.
You tease out of an emotional reason, right? And I thought Vulcans didn't have emotions.
Right, that little skit in the 2009 where he's been picked on by the other Vulcan kids, that was straight out of the old fucking Filmation animated cartoon from the 70s.
Oh, the cartoon nobody watched? I got you. Okay.
Fuck you, that cartoon was awesome. But I'm a big Filmation Studios fan. I love everything.
I'm trying to remember. I actually watched that episode, but it's fuzzy because it's been so damn long since I saw it. To an extent, all right, because they were making fun of him because he couldn't master the Vulcan neck pinch. But I don't think that. I think that was done not in the. If I remember correctly, the kids were just basically making a point of always pointing out that he couldn't do it, not that they were being emotional about it.
It's been a while since I've seen the animated show, but I can just remember the other Vulcan kids picking on Spock and stuff. You know what I mean? And
I don't remember it as well as I need to either, because it's been. It's been what, 3 decades. That was 4 decades ago.
Oh, they're on Netflix.
And the rest. Fuck, I think they bloody hell. I'm a Filmation fucking geek and know everything about the studio. I should know this. I think the Star Trek cartoon was 74. It's a guess. I think.
Yeah, 74, 75 around that time frame. Yeah, and that's when I saw it. So.
You old bastard. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with being old.
Yeah, says the other old bastard.
What'd you say, Sonny?
But I don't know if Tarantino's going to end up doing the movie or not, but
No,
if
he's
he
not.
keeps to the Kelvin timeline, I don't like it already. Go back to Prime, and Picard better be in the Prime timeline. I'm telling you that right now.
No, it's not. It's set in fucking Discovery bullshit timeline.
There's no way they're going to put Picard in the prime timeline.
No way, Ollie.
They have to. There's no other way to do it. Picard comes from the Prime timeline. What do you mean there's no way they're going to put him in the Prime timeline? By the way, isn't there a re-merger going on between CBS and Paramount?
They're going to butcher the hell out of frickin' Picard.
It's not going to be good, MC, is it?
No.
There's,
I'll tell you what. Let me tell you what's going to happen with Picard. Picard won't be Trek. Okay?
Patrick Stewart doesn't need the money, MC. He wouldn't sign on for the money. He would sign on for the story.
Patrick Stewart is not, just because Patrick Stewart played a character that's beloved does not mean that Patrick Stewart loves Star Trek or is a Trekkie or Trekker or whatever name you want to utilize.
Well, prime example there, MC, is can you remember fucking Patrick Stewart ever showing up at a Star Trek convention? Because I can't. Ever.
This year, he announced Picard, right? At the Vegas one.
If you watch the special features discs on Red Dwarf, there is actually an interview of him when he first found out about Red Dwarf. And he says it in that interview that like he reached for his phone because he was about to get some cunt sued. So, well, kind of sounds like he gave a shit.
Well, look,
but then he gave it 5 minutes and realised, oh no, this is even better. Fucking no, don't sue these cunts.
Well, the thing I'm worried about the Picard show is why it took so long to sell the show. Because Netflix got burnt with Discovery. Netflix went, fuck you, we're not having the Picard show. And now it's ended up on like Amazon Prime, the weakest of all these new streaming services.
Hey, I happen to like Amazon's service. Man in the High Castle was pretty good.
No, but what I'm saying is Netflix, who were under a deal for the 2 seasons of Discovery, Netflix went, no, we'll pass.
And the only reason why you'd have Amazon Prime anyway is to watch the Grand Tour.
No, the Expanse is over on Amazon, and they also signed the rights to the Tolkien estate. Their rights to the fucking Lord of the Rings franchise.
No, you're wrong. It's only because of Hamster May and bloody Clarkson on the Grand Tour. You're only watching anything else on Amazon Prime because you've already got it just for that.
Well, we were bored with that fucking trio with Clarkson and what have you. We were that bored. We give them to Amazon Prime.
Yeah, Clarkson got the sack.
I know, dude. I know.
I don't think
the old story.
Patrick Stewart gives a rat's ass about it. Patrick Stewart is an actor, and he looks at things from an actor's perspective and challenges from an actor's perspective. Yeah. And he's already been one of the people who changed Picard. Okay, and I didn't like the way he changed Picard in the movies at all, to be honest, because he changed characteristics of Picard, and I quite frankly didn't like the Picard in the latter episodes of the Next Generation anyway, because he was trying to turn him more into an action hero rather than what he had already previously established.
Yeah, but he kind of had to change in First Contact, if that's what you're trying to say. You know, the line must be drawn here.
No,
you don't think that was Picard?
It wasn't just First Contact. It's not what I was referring to even there. What's the episode where he screams there are 4 lights that dual
Oh
episode.
yeah, where he's kept prisoner by the Cardassians.
Right. Where he goes down on a mission like that. Now, first of all, the writing with that was just sad. All right. Overall, I liked the concept. Right, but the fact that they made it with Picard was what I didn't like.
It should have been Riker or O'Brien, right?
It could have been.
Oh, not O'Brien. He got the shit out of all of them.
Well, that's a separate issue. If you wanted to do something like that, you know who you could have freaking tortured and I wouldn't have bothered a lot with, right? is they should have made it the counselor. That would have made it something. That would, and I'm not joking about this, because they could have turned her into a strong woman character at that point.
Jeez,
Where she is resisting torture, where she's going through all this brutality. But no, we had to do it with Picard. But if they'd done it with frickin' Troy, okay, it would have expanded, and I could have been that much more accepting then of when they all of a sudden just walk over and hand her a command position for never making a decision.
Deanna Troy was just, oh shit, man. Talk about a product of the time. Only in the 80s did you need a fucking psychiatrist in space. Fuck off.
Was that a Google for you?
No, psychiatrists in space. It was just such a product of the time because everybody had a fucking shrink back then. Oh dear.
Well, I don't know. I liked, hate to go back to First Contact again, but Deanna in First Contact was pretty funny when she got drunk. That was hilarious.
So, in other words, the comic character, comic relief.
Marina Sirtis was pretty funny in real life until she started spouting out all sorts of garbage a couple of years ago.
I have no problem with the character, the actor or actresses in many of these things. All right, I have problems with what the direction some of these things went. And let's be honest, Picard was never supposed to be, all right, an action hero.
No, he was a stuffy command type, like one of those fucking British captains from the 1800s, right?
No,
that
he was a father figure, and that's what they should have left him as.
But I think they should have. I wouldn't like sent Troy down there, unless you wanted another Tasha Yar tar monster incident. I can go for that. That'd be all right. But I think Riker would have been better because Riker was supposed to be the one in all the action. You know what I mean? And $2 from
that too, to be honest.
$2 from Pinoid News. MC, shalom. Pat said he's got a closet for you.
Thanks, Pinoid. It's always great to see a fan.
Yeah, good old Patrick Little, naming the Jew. Tough work, that is.
Outing the Jew.
I thought Yorkie was the one in the closet.
Hey, what's up, voice? Star Trek 4 is back. What do you think?
Hey, voice.
Hello. Yes, Star Trek 4 never going to happen.
Yeah, well, we just read an article that says it is.
Yes, because let's see how they did. The second one barely broke even. The third one lost like $50 million. And they want to make another one. Yeah, I can guarantee you if it does get made, the budget will be £7.50.
Oh, much like season 3 of the original series, then.
They'll probably use the exact same, anything that's left over from other movies. They'll just, cobble it together in 4.
They land on a planet that's full of dinosaurs, so they could use old Jurassic Park props.
The original series that they didn't do very well. All right, let's be perfectly honest. All right, they could have expanded, and at times it looked like they were going to. All right, I honestly believe if they'd have gone for 3 or 4 more seasons rather than just the 3, if they'd got it to 6, you would have seen an expanded use of Lieutenant Uhura. And definitely an expanded use of Sulu, because there were hints that they were going to expand their roles, all right, in those series, and because the series got cut short, they never were able to do it.
Yeah, but dude, you were lucky you got season 3 anyway. The only reason you got season 3 of the original series is because of all the fucking fan letters to CBS.
No, I understand that. I do understand that. But if you go back and you actually watch the entire original series, you're going to see certain things that people forgot about. Things like when Uhura took over the freaking navigation council.
Dude, I know that show inside out because it's my favorite Star Trek. So
I mean, I wasn't referring to you necessarily. I meant it as a generic kind of a thing. Right? People forget these things of what they had started to do with Uhura's character. Okay, now would it have played? The writing was so much better for the most part. All right, that I think it would have. Now there are some. Let's be honest. There's some stinkers of some episodes, and of course, people have made their worst episodes from, all three of the major series, of which I include the major series for Star Trek are the original series, the Next Generation, and Deep Space Nine.
Yep. I think most people agree with you there, MC. I think most people agree with you on that line.
Two distant also ran are Voyager and Enterprise. All right. And that's it. I don't even look at, I'll be honest with you, the Kelvin timeline stuff, I don't even look at it as part of Star Trek.
Yeah, it's not. That's because it's not Star Trek, MC. You're fucking totally right. It's not Star Trek.
But I mean, there's stuff that they could have done. And this is what I was trying to point out was Uhura has a past, right? She didn't just come in there as a communications officer there onto the Enterprise for the first time, as an officer on the bridge. Well, if that's the case, you could go back and go through some of the things that she went through. Like I said, she was obviously qualified for navigation. All right, what else was she a part of in Starfleet? I mean, there are things they could have done they could have expanded and kept it truly Trek, and they didn't.
Yeah, and the fault lies with the fucking producers and everybody who's trying to bring this stuff. I think at its core, they've forgot what Star Trek is. They're just trying to make it like a run of the mill for the millennial generation. Every 3 seconds, an explosion.
Yes,
doesn't really matter about story. Just it's either they're watching this or they're tweeting on the phone. Do you know what I mean? You've got to compete with them tweeting the modern audience. Do you get me?
Yep. It amazes me what people think Star Trek was and what they're trying to turn it into. I heard somebody say this, and they're exactly right. They were trying to turn it into Star Wars. Yeah. But it was never going to be Star Wars. Star Wars is Star Wars. Star Trek is Star Trek. Are there action sequences here and there in Star Trek? Yeah. But overall,
they fucking tried with them JJ movies, though, didn't they?
Oh God!
They tried to make it action adventure in space. No, Star Trek is a logical thing. It's a thought-out process. It's all about the Federation, the rules. It's all about thinking, not pew pew pew.
Not, at every opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's you end up with the situation. I've never been a fan. I just never been a fan of Quentin. I also don't like Zachary Taylor's portrayal of Spock. I know a lot of other people think that it was okay, but I don't.
The only thing he's ever done, he was in when he was the bad guy in Heroes, another show what got fucking canned.
Yeah, I mean it's they're making the problem that they have is that they're trying to make the Vulcans too emotional.
Well, right? you've only got to look at the new Spock for that.
Yeah,
fucking smiling all the time, singing musicals. What the fuck? That's not Spock. What the fuck are you doing, CBS? You are fucking destroying characters, for fuck's sake. He doesn't get stuck in a turbo lift and then suddenly start singing show tunes. That's not fucking Spock. What the fuck?
The worst part about that, though, is at least it's closer to Star Trek. Because they weren't trying to shoot anything at the time.
Jesus Christ. That new Spock is a fucking Star Trek Discovery and the whole new timeline is a disgrace to Star Trek anyway.
No, I'd agree with that too.
That new Spock. That's what? He's fucking smiling most of the time. Hello? He's only half human, you know? And he kept that quiet.
Yeah, I don't want to go off into the weeds.
Show tunes.
I don't want to go off into the weeds of Discovery because, well, we could be here all night talking about that shit show. And yeah, I know, Voice, you think Janeway was a good captain. She is a psychopath, and she needs to die.
Now, remember you said that.
She's supposed to be terrible to work with.
Mitch the Ripper, some Star Wars. What's it? Not gonna keep bouncing so fast. I can't read the document thing. Where was it? Now I've lost it. Oh well. Mitch made a comment about how Star Trek is dead because it was killed by JJ, and I agree with him.
Yep.
And now he's done the same thing with Star Wars.
Yep. I agree with you wholeheartedly there. With you and JJ.
All right, well, let's move on into this last week of news. All right.
Here.
I didn't feel like killing myself, so I didn't watch the impeachment. Anything of import?
Here, this will tell you everything you need to know about it.
Well, I'm just going to sit back and listen to MC for the next 20 minutes.
Here's what you need to know about it. Democrats leave Trump in suspense on where impeachment goes next. Okay? Now that the House Democrats have wrapped up their last scheduled public hearing on the Ukraine, they have to decide whether to schedule more or to move on to the next step toward impeaching President Donald Trump. In the coming days, Congress will determine what response is appropriate, the House Intelligence Chairman Adam Schiff said on Thursday. The Democrats head into the recess week trying to figure out if they can meet their tentative target of holding any impeachment vote before the end of the year. Here are some important decisions ahead. Deciding on whether or not to call more witnesses. In other words, what you're seeing here, quite frankly, is the Democrats threw all this out there to stick on the wall. They had their helpers in the press trumpeting how bad and how damaging this was for Trump. And it went nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. They had one of the quote unquote wobbly Republicans come out after this was over, and they thought he was going to say he's going to vote for impeachment, and he turned right around and said, "You haven't proved shit." And he walked away. And Nancy Pelosi understands something. If they go in with them just voting it strictly along party lines, the Democrats will end up looking very, very badly. The Democrats also have another problem, which is why they're trying to decide this. The impeachment, this whole impeachment thing, the primary purpose of this impeachment thing wasn't to impeach Trump. Don't get me wrong. They want to get rid of Trump. They hate Trump. All right. The passion that they hate him with is they can't even think straight compared, when they think about Trump. But that's not what they were doing this for. What they were doing this for and what they're terrified of, okay, is already starting to leak out. And that is the investigations into where did this whole Russiagate crap begin from. And there were a number of stories that came out recently, including one from the IG, right, where it was leaked that, they altered documents in order to get the FISA reports and get FISA to agree with the investigation into Carter Page. When you have a lawyer altering documents to give to FISA, you've got a huge problem. And the Democrats are trying to hide that. Yes, this whole thing with Ukraine brought right on in Hunter Biden and the Bidens. And now, by the way, the Bidens are now getting hammered because let's be honest, they were corrupt. You don't walk in there with your son and you on the board and being and that company being investigated and walk in and say, well, this prosecutor here tell him he's either fired or you're not getting $1 billion. You got 6 hours and I'm walking out of here. You don't do that and then don't and come back and go, oh no, but I didn't do anything. I wasn't trying to protect my son or anything else. When your son was getting millions of dollars from them. So the whole impeachment scam, by doing what they did, has blown up completely in their face, and it's going to get worse. This is what Nancy Pelosi has to decide, because let me explain to you guys another aspect that no one wants to talk about, but it's being whispered behind the scenes of this. Okay, if she goes forward and has the vote right now, next week they're already off next week because that's Thanksgiving week. Okay, and so they probably have Thanksgiving week off, and the week after that they probably have off, and so forth. Then they have, I think, 2 weeks before Christmas break. All right. Now, if Nancy Pelosi, she has to schedule debate, right, on the House floor before the impeachment vote. Okay, everybody in God is going to want to get up there and talk. There's not going to be one person who's not going to want to get up there and give their 2 cents. This is going to go for at least a week, all right, where people are getting up to give their hour or however, 30 or whatever minute. You got 500 or, well, actually 400. You got 400 House members that are going to speak. They're going to give their 2 cents. 400. So it's not going to last, okay, overnight. You're not going to take the vote the next day. So you've got about a week of these guys pontificating, however, for and against, and then you have the vote. And then you end up having it go to the Senate. Now, when it goes to the Senate, what do you have going on right now? Well, you've got a presidential election going on, right? And in January, the first primary for the Democrats is in February, right? The very first part of February, end of January, early February, I think. Right, in Iowa and in New Hampshire. Okay, well, if those senators can't be, the senators that are running for president, they can be stuck inside of the Senate while the Senate is going through their impeachment portion of this the entire time. All right,
Well,
they could prevent going down the road.
Yeah, no, MC, you're right. And Tim Pool had brought that up. And that's the Democrats doing what? Neutering themselves to give Hillary time to recuperate?
Worse than that, when it goes to the Senate, all these people that the Republicans wanted to bring out and call as witnesses can get subpoenaed to be witnesses. They can be ordered to speak. This whole thing about the whistleblower and everything? They can be ordered to testify, including... People don't realize this, including Adam Schiff and his staff. Okay, and they can go back, and then Vindman can be told, no, you're not gonna listen to your lawyer there, who's telling you can't speak. No, you're going to speak. Okay, and they're going to be made to look like the buffoons that they were. One of the things that was quite obvious. All right, let me explain this to people so they understand. In order for what Trump did, let's say Trump did delay giving the money to the Ukraine, okay? And he did delay to some degree. We already know that. The question is, though, why? Now, if he says, well, it's for corruption because I want to make sure that these people weren't corrupt, then there's no question that that's okay. If it's, well, I just want to investigate Biden because he's going to be personally, he's a personal, political opponent. Okay, during that entire impeachment process, they gave zero, and I mean zero evidence that the reason Trump was doing this was because he didn't like the Bidens. Every one of them were asked. Every single Democrat was asked this question, and every of the Democrat witnesses, rather, were asked this question. And they all said, well, this is what I assumed. This is what I believed. This is what I came up with. This is what I realized after the fact. Well, how does that prove anything? Did Trump say the Bidens are those dirty Bidens, I'm going to get them? What evidence do you have that the reason that he delayed this, right, was because of a personal beef with the Bidens or the personal beef, all right, with for political purposes only. You had no evidence. And then what happened is every single one of these supposed, upstanding witnesses were asked relevant questions of obvious, corruption. All right. This guy was doing this. Did you know about it? No. This guy was doing this. Did you know about that? No. This girl said this. Did you know about that? Did you know about the DNC operative that did this? No, I'm not aware of that. Here's all these ambassadors that were testifying that, oh, no, we were all about corruption and we were watching the corruption and everything else. And yet they act like they didn't know any of it. And so they were absolutely shocked when the American people are looking at this going, where's the evidence? Show me where Trump was doing this for this reason. You have made the statement that he was after the Bidens because he didn't like the Bidens because they were a political threat. Now, let's be perfectly honest here. Does anybody believe that Biden is a political threat to Donald Trump?
No, I think Biden would be the ideal candidate for Trump to go against.
I don't even think Biden is going to make it out of the Democrat primary.
So, in other words, basically what you're saying, this is just the great American impeachment show that we've had since Clinton.
Well, but you can say that it's against Clinton, but with Clinton actually committed crimes.
No. Since it's been since, it's like it doesn't matter. Like whoever's come in, fucking, oh no, we're going to impeach him. It's like tradition now.
Well, it's always been a tradition with the Democrats anyway. They wanted vengeance for Bill Clinton, but the reality is Bill Clinton, they should have stood, and that's another problem the Democrats have. They don't realize this, but another problem the Democrats have with this is they overlooked the actual criminality of Bill Clinton. They did it intentionally. You had people making what he saying this on the floor, saying this to the public. Yeah, what Bill Clinton did was wrong. Yeah, what he did was illegal, but I just don't want to impeach him. All right, that's what you had going on. And these people were making this statement. Okay, so you have actual crimes. If you take a look at the actual evidence against Bill Clinton, it isn't questionable. It was overwhelming. He did commit perjury. He did suborn perjury, and he did, obstruct justice. There's no question about that.
And he did commit murder on everybody in Waco when he burns them all alive.
No, I don't think that he did that.
No, Janet Reno did that.
Under orders from?
I don't think that she was under orders. I think she did that on her own, and I think that there's more evidence of that turning into a disaster because of, well, I'm not going to go into that stuff right now.
Yeah, me and MC will start yelling at each other when it comes to Waco.
But MC, do you think that the standalone complex is part of this shit show?
No, I don't. I'm not like Tim Pool in this. I think that this was highly coordinated. The fact that you had the witnesses, coordinated with Schiff before any of this became public, indicates that this is a conspiracy. We
knew it. MC though. We knew it was a fucking conspiracy when the Department of Justice was investigating Donald Trump before he was even fucking elected.
Yeah.
I mean, Obama already had his fucking junkyard dogs hunting Trump down at that point, right?
Well, right, and that's what they're trying. That's what this whole impeachment thing is. They're here for. It's to provide cover for that malfeasance.
If anybody should be on trial right now, it's former President Obama.
Well, Obama, I wouldn't, at this point in time, I don't disagree that he probably knew everything and was directing it, okay? But the reality is there's no evidence of that. But but there's plenty of actual evidence that Loretta Lynch knew and that everybody below her knew when they were conducting this.
Here's a key question. Do you believe that Obama, as president, knew that Biden's son was on that board and just let that shit go? Just whatever crazy Joe.
Now, I want you to go back to this testimony that happened this week, or last week, not not this week, but the previous week, where Mary Jovanovic, all right, was being questioned, and one of the questions that she got asked was, "You said in your sworn statement that you didn't know anything about Burisma and Biden's son and everything, and yet you also testified that prior to your going for your confirmation hearing in the Senate to approve you as an ambassador, they briefed you as part of the questionnaire on Biden's son being on the board of Burisma and what to do if the question came up." So now you tell me, I think that Obama knew about it? Hell yes, he knew about it.
Well, then this should be worse than fucking Watergate at this point, right? At least Watergate, Nixon didn't know what was going on until after the fact and then tried to cover it up. Obama's actively involving himself and letting it happen in front of him.
Well, he knew about it. Now, that doesn't mean that he approved it or anything else.
Approving by omission, I would say. By saying nothing,
but it's not his job necessarily, all right, to go delve into all these different things. Okay,
it's not his job to keep an eye on the vice president in the United States.
No, it is not his job to keep an eye on the vice president. That's where a lot of people forget. He's the president of the United States. He's not there to sit there and hold everybody's hands. He is going to take the blame for it if the people he chose, right, were made poor choices. He is going to take the blame for it. Okay, but the reality is that that's not necessarily his job to micromanage everything in his department or anything within the executive branch.
Well, the way he did run the White House was a lot of micromanaging, which is partly why he did so badly.
Well, yes and no. He only did that in select areas. There was only a few areas that Obama, personally, all right, took a direct hand in. Right?
The gun running, he personally directed.
Yes, the gun running in Fast and Furious, yes, he was all a part of, because that was a political maneuver. That's very true. I can't deny that. But he wasn't. No president can directly control every aspect, all right, of the executive branch. It's just too big.
I'm telling you right now, if I was president and you were vice president, MC, I would have somebody watching your punk ass all the time.
And what would they be watching me for?
I don't know. I doubt you'll do anything corrupt, but maybe you might drone me and become president. I don't know, but I'm keeping a fucking eye on you.
Well, if you're not worried about me droning you to sit up there and take over, it's probably already too late, because the person you probably have watching me might already be my employee.
I'll be more worried with secret talks with China.
I mean, Trump has made a number of. I mean, he is bombastic. All right, he talks off the cuff. All right, he's a typical braggadocious New Yorker, right? But he's not somebody who doesn't mean well. He at least means well, all right? He does, believe it or not, he has shown that it's not about him, all right? That the world doesn't necessarily revolve around him. And he's done things in the past, long before he ever ran for president, that indicate that. Not the least of which is basically actually stopping a guy, all right, from being killed by having him, having his limousine stop, and he got out to prevent a guy from getting beaten. Okay, that did happen. Trump was doing that kind of stuff. Now, Trump, he is narcissistic. Okay, what has Pence been up to? I don't know. Church. I mean, with all due respect to everybody else, Pence is just a church-going individual. That's all he is. What has he done?
He's got to be doing something behind the scenes, I think. He's been way too quiet. It's almost like when my kids are silent. You got to go check on
Why
him.
does everybody believe that the vice president is out there on his own doing stuff? He's not. You know, for example, you got Eldridge God sit up there and put out there, the vice president is the fourth branch of government. Just ask Cheney. No, no, it's not. All right. People assign all sorts of things to Dick Cheney, not the least of which is the fact that they think that Dick Cheney frickin' had his arm all the way up frickin' Bush's ass and he was using him as a frickin' puppet.
Didn't he, though?
No, and I don't think former President Bush was as stupid as everyone thinks he is. You know, I don't know. I think that was more of a facade.
I think he was naive more than anything else. I mean, even his children were naive.
But I don't know. I think if they really want to pursue this impeachment, they're going to uncover a lot more dirt on their own side than on the Republican side.
Well, that's what the problem came. That's where the problem came in with how they were doing it. Was they wanted to bring in the Republicans said, "Hey, we want to win. We want witnesses. We want to subpoena Joe Biden. We want to subpoena Biden's son. We got a whole list of witnesses to subpoena." And of course, the Democrats stopped them. And this presents a major problem for them because the Republicans were complaining that they weren't allowed to ask the questions that they wanted to ask. They weren't allowed to do this. And this impeachment thing showed that they were right. Time after time, questions were stopped. Not the least of which was when they were talking to Vindman. Okay. I think it was Jim Jordan, all right, asks Vindman, all right, do you know who the whistleblower is? And he says, no, I don't know who the whistleblower is. So then Vindman goes out there and he asks him the question, well, who did you talk to outside of this, the NSC chain, right? The National Security Council chain. And he mentions that he talked to somebody in the Secretary in the State Department, and he talked to somebody in the intelligence community, right? Well, and both of them had clearances, right? You know, both of them were cleared. Cleared and having clearances and having being read on for access are two different things. So then, as a natural consequence, Jordan asks him, well, who is it that you spoke to? I want, which names do you have? And immediately Schiff jumps in and says, no, the witness can't talk about that. That's going to out the whistleblower. And Jordan looks at him and goes, well, you're saying you don't know who the whistleblower is. And of course, nobody believes you. All right. And the witness says he doesn't know who the whistleblower is. So then why shouldn't I know who he told this to? And everyone's like, well, you can ask your questions of the witness. Just keep asking your questions of the witness. Because right then, they had already lost. As soon as they had done that to Vindman, this entire thing, the entire scam that the Democrats were running was right out there for the American people, and people stopped watching. Their whole second week, this whole week's of testimony was useless for them. Absolutely useless for them. Their big guy was going to be this Sondland guy, and Sondland got whacked. I mean, it was a disaster for him.
Well, and why even proceed anyway? Let's be completely honest. You're going to kick it up to the House or from the House to the Senate. The Senate is ran by the Republicans. Can you flip Rand Paul? Not at this point. I think he already kissed the ring. Who can you flip? I'm not seeing anybody really.
Well, first of all, why would you flip Rand Paul? What's? Let me ask you a question. What's Trump done that he should be removed from office for?
Nothing, exactly. And you're not going to get Rand Paul to sign up for it. Well, I'm looking at it from the Democrat point of view. It's a nothing burger. They're going to lose in the Senate. The impeachment will not go through. You will not impeach the president.
They need a 2/3 majority. Okay. They need to get over 14 or 15 Republican senators to agree with them to remove him from office. That's not going to happen, okay? Because they haven't presented any evidence. You've made a lot of accusations. Like I said, they've made a lot of accusations. Well, the reason he was doing it was because of Biden. Okay, well, is Biden corrupt? Well, before you go any further, you have to say, well, he's going after Biden. Well, was Biden corrupt? Well, no. According, is Burisma corrupt? Well, yeah. Well, then why shouldn't there be an investigation to even see if Biden's corrupt? Okay, well, harumph, I say, harumph. Okay, you already end up in a problem then. And this becomes, this problem doesn't go away because you want it to go away. And the Democrats built this chain, all right? But the reason that they're doing this, you got to remember, their primary reason of going forward with this is to avoid what's coming out on the 9th, which is a litany of the malfeasance, all right, for why the 2016 investigation on Trump began. There's going to be a litany on this, all right, and it's not going to just be a single individual, all right. People are terrified, all right. The Democrats are terrified of what the IG report is going to say.
Yeah, no, and here's what Eldridge said in the chat. Ironically, the Democrats set the stage for Trump in that impeachment when they argued that you shouldn't impeach a president on moral grounds. You made Trump inevitable.
Yep. When they ignored the rule of law and said, well, this is just a moral thing about moral proclivities, right? Eldridge Scott is right. During the Clinton administration, well, this is just about sex. It's just about sex. It's just about sex. It might be unseemly, but it's not illegal. It's just about sex. When they were able to push that and ignore the actual criminality that was attached with it all, they set the stage for Trump. And they set the stage not just for Trump, but for the entire Republican Party to do exactly what they did, which was sit up there and go, if you don't like the guy's morals, I don't care. If you don't like the fact that the guy sits up there and sleeps around on his wife, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Stormy Daniels, this whole Stormy Daniels thing is going to come down and kill us. It's going to get Trump. It's the Stormy Daniels. What the hell are you talking about? You think Stormy Daniels is going to bring down Trump? You're out of your freaking rabbit-ass mind. Well, it was a campaign finance violation. No, it wasn't. Well, Cohen admitted to it. Okay, well, Cohen admitted to it as part of a freaking deal to keep him out for the other things that he was accused of. All right, and he didn't go to jail just on that one count of campaign finance.
Real quick, okay, so MC, you could probably explain this to the chat better than I can. They're arguing over whether or not President Clinton was impeached. They went through with the impeachment. But, so yes, he was impeached, but he won, right?
Correct.
Okay, you explain it.
He was impeached, but he was not removed from office. All right, impeachment, whether anybody wants to believe this or not, impeachment is strictly a political operation. It has nothing to do with the rule of law, people aside from the Constitution, but it is a political process. There are two presidents who have been successfully impeached, all right? Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton. Those two presidents were successfully impeached. Nixon did step down. They were going to put out articles of impeachment, but Nixon stepped down before he was impeached, before they went through and had the vote on impeachment. Okay? Now, in the Senate, both Bill Clinton and Andrew Johnson were not removed because they failed to get the 2/3 majority to remove him from office. Now, Andrew Johnson, okay, was impeached because he fired, I believe it was the Secretary of War, okay, what we would call the Secretary of Defense today. He fired him. He said, I want you gone. You are a member of my cabinet, and I am firing you. And the House said, you can't do that. In their minds, it was, since he's confirmed by the Senate, you have to get approval of the Senate to remove a cabinet officer. And that's what it came down to, was, okay, it doesn't say that in the Constitution, so they were going to sit up there and try and establish a precedent to basically hamstring any freaking future president by saying, okay, we're going to sit up there and prevent you from ever firing anybody that went in there in the cabinet. All right, if we've approved them. Now think about that. So that went through the House. They successfully impeached him, and then it got to the Senate, and they couldn't get the 2/3 majority to remove him for it. With Bill Clinton, of course, it's because of perjury, suborning of perjury, and obstruction of justice. The articles of impeachment that were going to be debated on Nixon were perjury and obstruction of justice. Does that answer all your questions?
Yeah, no, that should straighten it out in the chat. Yeah. So I don't think it'll get through the Senate. So it is.
Well, no,
is.
but here's the problem, and Eldridge God is right about this too. The Democrats have put themselves in a box. Nancy Pelosi placed herself in a box when she went forward with this because she has a timeline. She can't wait. Understand this. The longer they wait, the more witnesses they attempt to call, the longer they delay this, the worse it's going to look for them. Okay? The worse it's going to... You got to remember, they were all shouting at the... Nancy Pelosi has already come out and said, we can vote out articles of impeachment today. Well, then why don't you? Okay? Nancy Pelosi, in the meanwhile, has been holding off on, like, the treaty with Mexico, right, and Canada. She's been holding off any votes on that, trying to say, if you want us to pass this, if you want us to vote on this, then you have to agree to vote for impeachment. And the Republicans, it's taken a long time, but the Republicans now are a united front against Nancy Pelosi and this whole impeachment process. And once they had that first thing of saying, okay, we're going to vote for the investigation for impeachment, Nancy Pelosi made a massive mistake when she did that. Because when she did that, she lost 2 Democrats, all right, and no Republicans voted for it. Absolutely none. So they needed to change and push Republicans to vote for this. And she can't get it. She isn't going to get it out of the House. Even Newt Gingrich was able to get some Democrats to vote for impeachment for Bill Clinton. Nancy Pelosi's getting none of it. All right? She knows she's done if she doesn't go forward, and she knows she can't go forward the way it is because the Republicans now are at the point where they want to punish Democrats. Remember, this is a political process. This is a political football, not a legal football. All right? And when you move it to the next thing, what do you think the Republicans are going to do? The Republicans are going to do the same thing to the Democrats that the Democrats freaking did to them, which means they're going to tell the House, and they're going to tell Schiff, all right, when he starts to speak, you can't speak. You've already had your time. You shut up about. You're not here allowed to say this. Just like it happened here, and they're going to give Trump and his attorneys carte blanche to ask anything and everything, while they then come back with nope, point of order. You're not allowed to say this. Out. Point of order against the Democrats. It's going to look horrible because it's strictly a political football now.
Yeah, I completely agree. STD was shit.
Thanks, nerd.
Well, doesn't that make the Republicans look just as petty as the Democrats, though? I would let the Democrats ask their questions because you already know they're not going to get anywhere. So let them talk.
The Republicans have a different problem. Okay, the Republicans' problem has been that they're not fighters. Why is Trump the president? Why was he a Republican? Because Trump became president because the people that are generally going to vote for Republicans were looking for somebody to stand up and hammer the Democrats after watching the spineless bullshit from Republicans time and time and time again. Okay, this weak-kneed, let's all get along crap, all right, from the Republicans has not been playing well with their base. So the Republicans at this point, if they want to continue, if they want to be shown as being strong, they can't allow, all right, the Democrat to look weak in front of the Democrats. They've got to give it back to them now.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I agree.
Otherwise, they're going to look weak, and everybody knows it. I'm looking forward to crowds. Epstein's didn't kill himself special on Monday. I guess Crowder is doing an episode on Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, that would be great.
Well, actually, he is going to try and see if it is even possible for Epstein to kill himself, as I understand it. He is recreating the cell.
Wait, so Crowder's gonna try and kill himself on YouTube?
No, he's just going to see if it's possible to.
Mitch the Ripper. I suspect candidate Trump was elected as a protest against the same shit, different administration. No, he was for the nation. I would agree with you. Okay. The difference was, though, in the Republican Party. Let's be honest, Trump was not well liked and is still not well liked by many Republicans. That's a reality.
Well, it's because he's not a Republican. He is a Reagan Democrat, so to say, but he's not a Republican. It's just the Democrat Party left him behind, so he's forced to be a Republican.
Well, no, I don't think that that's true either. I think the difference is that he went for the Republican Party because he thought he had the best chance of winning the nomination in the Republican Party, and he wasn't wrong. I mean, he's an opportunist. Trump is not stupid. I'm not saying he's a the 6D chess master that everyone that some people want to talk about, but he's not an idiot by any stretch of the imagination. And if he wanted to do things and he thinks the country is going in the wrong direction and he wants to become president, he looked at things and said, okay, the best way for me to run for president, to actually see if I can win to become a president, is to do it from the Republican side, because the Republican base was angry at the leadership of the Republican Party, period.
Well, yeah, who the fuck asked for Jeb? And what's your campaign slogan? Jeb! Fuck you.
The fact that the money poured into Jeb and people were talking about, and that's what the media was all talking about, is how much money Jeb Bush was bringing in, and he got a lot of money early on.
I'm surprised his campaign slogan wasn't "Vote for me, I'm the good brother."
I'm the smart brother. That's what he tried to portray himself as, and what he came across as is, I'm the boring brother.
Oh no, Mitch did it. MC, who wanted McCain as president? And I'll mute.
Okay, here's the question for you. Who was running against McCain? Honestly.
Who was running against McCain? Obama.
No, on the Republican side.
Oh. Who was running against McCain on the Republican side? I don't even remember. Ron Paul. Ron Paul was one. Mitt Romney was another. All right. What's his name? Rick Perry, Mitch says, and yeah, Perry, because he forgot the third branch that he wanted to cut. Yeah, Rick Perry, who was taking drugs at the time, came across as a complete moron. All right, so the Republicans put up subpar candidates against McCain. Like it or not, they put up subpar candidates against McCain. Well, Ron Paul won the straw poll, didn't he? Look, a caucus is a caucus. Okay? This is one of the things I'm not going to... Iowa is Iowa, right? They have what's called a caucus. Caucuses don't mean shit. Okay? I hate to say this. Yeah, you can say that they send delegates, right? But a primary is not a caucus.
A caucus is when they all get together and they all hash out verbally, who do you like? Well, I like this guy. Well, I like that guy. Well, I like this guy. And you go back and forth, and then they come back and they go, okay, well now we're gonna vote. We're gonna vote our until we get a an answer.
Consensus.
Where we want to go with this, right? And it really isn't people going in and casting their ballots. And yeah, okay, so he wins Iowa. What did he do after that? He got obliterated.
No, he took third. I followed that election because I was Ron Paul.
He took third in what?
The very next primary. He took
The very
third.
next primary was New Hampshire, the live free and die state, and he couldn't pull in a second.
He was short of second by like 200 votes, and they rigged it. And he had a
What
lot
do
of
you mean
delegates that
rigged it?
they had a lot of delegates that they wouldn't even let sit at the Republican convention.
No, he did not have any delegates that they wouldn't let sit. Okay.
That's bullshit. I've heard audio from that fucking convention, and they kicked the Ron Paul delegates out.
Convention all you want. He did have some delegates, but it didn't matter because McCain already had. Because the Republicans do something that I intensely dislike, and I really think that this is a mistake. But the Republicans run a winner takes all. In other words, what Cabby used to refer to as a first past the post. The state's delegates, all the state's delegates are not proportional. Many of the states is if you come in first in the primary, you get all the delegates of that state. So it didn't matter that Ron Paul came in third in New Hampshire because all of the delegates went to the number one. All right,
even the ones that showed up in support of Ron Paul.
They can come in. They can come in and say that they support, but they were a vast minority.
Politics is a dirty business, people.
Well, you got to remember the Republican Party, just like the Democrat Party, all right, are not. There's nothing inherently that they have to be Republican or Democrat. The party systems are the party system. You think I was a mistake?
Come on, Ma, don't let MC away with that. Stand up for Ron. Come on.
Well, no, Ron even backed out, so I can't stand up for him too much. He could have rose a stink because after the first section of the convention, it's then up in the air, and there was not. McCain didn't have a clear majority.
Yes, he did.
You could have made a stink.
No, he couldn't have. McCain had a clear majority of the delegates.
McCain was a douchebag.
Okay, you can call him a douchebag. You can second guess this, but there's something called history, and history will show you that McCain on the first ballot had the overwhelming majority. And believe it or not, Ron Paul wasn't even second.
Go suck a hanging Chad. Talking about history.
I don't know why we're fighting about McCain. Isn't he dead?
No, what I don't get near is why they're fighting about McCain. I think he makes perfectly good oven fries.
Yeah, his TV dinners aren't bad either.
Yeah.
You gonna say something, nerd?
I was laughing at Jez's joke. Apparently, you Yanks have never heard of a certain brand of
McCain. You've done it again.
Yeah. I tell you, Digital, you're confusing the Yankees again. Keep them simple.
I know. I should keep the joke simple. I know.
No, at least the Commonwealth got it.
Okay. Well, speaking of the Commonwealth, how are those fires going? We're talking about the news of the last week. Isn't half of Australia on fire?
No, just half in New South Wales. I think the thunderstorm I conjured up last night, my Jedi powers finally did the work for them.
Well, they're moving into this is moving into your summer now, right?
Yep.
That's why all of the country's on fire.
I mean, do you have dry summers or do you have wet summers?
No, dry summers. Up in the Northern Territory, there is like the wet and dry season, and I think you'll find the wet season is actually the summertime. Don't quote me on that.
No, was anyone not just interesting and was going to overlook the fact that, 40 said he called up a thundercloud. Did that mean he was outside in his grass skirt, chanting, playing the...
Hey, how are ya? Hey, how are ya?
So you took a lesson from the Aborigines? Is that what you're doing? Ask them how to get rain?
40 was
Nah.
copying others. He was copying Crocodile Dundee.
I think he's took far many fucking lessons from the Aborigines anyway, man. He sits indoors and gets drunk all day.
Hey, Captain Goldpile, pollution sounds like cabbage.
No, that's just my Scottish background.
If pollution actually sounded like cabbage, I'd be yelling at him. He'd be yelling back at me. So he's not quite there yet. He's got a ways to go.
We get in there. I'm a sprout, if you get that joke.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't started yelling at me yet, so or Matt Dodge or anybody else.
Jazz, if you want to sound like cabbage, just do this. MC, you're wrong. You know you're wrong. I'm not going to have to explain you're wrong, but you're wrong.
Well, what I was going to do is just wait until memes showed up and just go, shut the fuck up, memes.
Where's memes been? He's like dropped off the face of the planet.
He was in the chat earlier. He might still be watching. Yeah, he was. I saw him. Captain Colepile says, now that McCain is dead, he's probably voting Democratic.
Memes is probably bumming a fag outside a pub. I mean, bumming a fag off a guy outside a pub.
Well, I suspect that Reagan has probably been voting Democrat too since he's dead. I mean, that's just how the dead work.
Well, memes just released a video feeding a pussy, so take from that what you will.
Oh no!
I thought only Germans did those videos. Oh!
Well, that's with the glass coffee table.
I don't see memes as a thing. I'm kind of looking for memes.
Oh, he was in the chat way earlier. He said, "Hey guys,
Indeed,
what's going on?" His usual thing. But no, okay. All right. So Australia's on fire. What else is happening in the news, MC? I know you cover the news every morning. What's some stuff you overlook?
Well, I cover the news during the weekdays. I don't cover it on the weekends for the morning. Well, what would you want to talk about? You want to talk about Iran, or do you want to talk about? You want to talk about a mayhem at a mall?
Mayhem at the mall. Yes.
People still go to the
You
mall.
want to talk about the guy who got a vasectomy because of climate change?
Whoa!
That's a good one as well. Mayhem at the mall.
Somebody woke up one day and was like, climate change. I'm gonna get my balls snipped.
Yeah.
Yo, Doc, yeah, I want to set this up for a week. And then he sat around for an entire fucking week and still went through with it.
I got a vasectomy because of climate change. Getting one is by far the most powerful personal action I could take for our planet.
Yeah, don't bring any more bloody feeding mouths and fucking bloody CO2 breathers out. Fucking,
Really struggle guess what? The idea of personal responsibility with the overwhelming need for human society to address the threat posed by climate change. Since the 1970s, the massive energy corporations responsible for the vast majority of our carbon emissions have known about and done nothing to mitigate the harm they cause because they own the politicians worldwide, and there doesn't seem to appear to be any government level action. But I'm supposed to turn off a light? What about the possible impact that could have, and why is it all on my shoulders and not theirs? When I got engaged, my fiance Virginia and I started planning for the future. It just wasn't my dog Wiley and me up against the world anymore. All of a sudden, I started thinking 10 or 20 years ahead. Children are an obvious thing to plan. With a sudden focus of responsible decision-making, it was no longer made sense to leave a hypothetical future offspring up to chance. When should we have them? What did our careers look like on the timeline? Who would be responsible for staying home and raising them? Couldn't we just have one of the dogs do that?
What the fuck is this? Is this a science fiction blog?
I got engaged in June of 2018, a couple months before a wildfire destroyed the entire town of California and another wiped out sections of Malibu. Shortly after that, most of the Mississippi River basin flooded. Something that might be normal, virtually eliminating the future of our industrial agriculture throughout the region that produces much of this nation's food. And, of course, the whole Donald Trump thing that's going on.
Hang on, let me stop you there, MC. And, of course, the old Donald Trump thing is going on. What the fuck has that got to do with the rest of the story?
I'm just talking about this guy's mindset.
No,
right?
hang on.
This guy's fucking
hang on here.
Is this the world?
It doesn't matter. Look, me and Quinn will be the first people fucking eat this cunt anyway. So,
is this a world? Is this a world it's responsible to bring kids into?
No,
it looks like the pace of climate change is speeding up ahead of scientists' ability to understand or forecast it. Hypothetical. West Jr.'s wife is so far into the future that I've already lived 8 years in is tempting to try and forecast stuff like it's got so many feet of sea level rise or the extinction of some key species. But there may not be possible. The future might be worse than any of us currently fear. Then Virginia and I started talking about something we could do for ourselves to make for a meaningful impact on larger problems. We could just forego the whole kid thing altogether.
Well, I know instantly how we can sort this out. Him and Virginia are going to be in mine and Quinn's pot. Job done. We don't have to read shit like that anymore. Me and Quinn get a meal. It's all good.
I'm trying to understand this. If you're that serious, all right, then what are you going to do to stop your production of CO2? Why don't you, since you want to stop it by not having any kids and adding to the problem, well, then why don't you go through the full step?
Well, it's just as I fucking yelled out to a bunch of fucking screaming kids when they had that first fucking prearranged fucking teacher's day off fucking outdoor protest. I said, you do realise you breathe out carbon, right? Yeah. You want to stop carbon? Choke yourself. And the only response they had to that was, woo, produce more carbon.
Fucking hypocrites, 40. What the fuck can you do?
I know. I mean, like, yeah, this dude has to take my advice next. If he wants to do his bit for bloody climate change, right? He's already not going to, fucking breed. So cool. Now you need to go and bloody neck yourself.
He goes on.
You're going to be positive about this. Just not
resources to sustain a population that stands to change life on the planet. We are already fighting wars for oil. Many think wars for water will be next, and there are going to get closer to home. So not having kids, I found a colleague's brother in Bozeman who performs vasectomies and made an appointment. I was afraid of getting my scrotum operated on, but the procedure ended up being quicker and less invasive than most dental appointments. I took off my pants, laid on the bed, received a local anesthetic, chatted with the doctor while he made a few incisions, and then got a ride home. Once the anesthetic wore off, I felt like somebody had kicked me in the balls pretty good, a feeling that dissipated over the next 7 days.
MC, can I just stop you there for a moment? Is this something out of a recent newspaper article or something out of a strange and weird, wonderful
This
Times?
is a newspaper article.
No, yeah. Weird and wonderful, strange tales, 10-cent comic. What the fuck?
This is a guy who wrote an article. This isn't a newspaper article. I took Valium before the surgery and a few handfuls of ibuprofen afterwards, but otherwise I didn't need painkillers or even an ice pack. The worst part was taking.
Well, you fucking wouldn't do after handfuls of that.
I made good progress. It might not be enough to save a polar bear. It might not prevent the next campfire, but this is the absolute biggest difference we can make. We need fewer humans, and getting there voluntarily will be an awful lot less painful than doing it with war, famine, and natural disaster.
Well, all he's got to do is sign sign a little contract with me and Quinn where we can take care of him and his family, no fucking problem. And they will never put any more carbon footprint because they'll be in a fucking stew.
If this guy was actually believed what he was saying, why didn't he just throw
What
himself
a
up
douche.
fucking mountain?
Because he doesn't believe it. None of them do.
Of course he doesn't.
The whole reason he doesn't want to have kids is he doesn't want his own personal life to be impinged upon. Well, children I'd have to act responsible. No, he wants to act like an irresponsible douchebag his entire life.
No. You've missed the entire point to this. What he's actually just saying here, that he already realises that his wife's such a cunt, he doesn't want to get stuck with her for at least 18 bloody years with the kid. That's what he's just said.
I tell you this too. I guarantee you.
This guy is
No, I guarantee you within 2 years.
How young
I guarantee you within 2 years that his wife has
I
kids.
guarantee you his
with-
wife is probably in her 20s, right? And when she turns 30 or 35 and gets a little older, I suspect that his wife is not 30 or 35. I suspect she's in her 20s, right?
Wow. Just trade it in for a new model, don't you?
He'll know what'll happen is his freaking happy ass wife will divorce his ass to go find someone that will sit up and give him a child.
Well, you can only live off the trust fund for so long, can't you? With them views and writing them vlogs.
You know?
Maybe he knows the premise that
This
once
guy
a cheat,
doesn't
always
know-
a cheat.
this guy
Maybe
doesn't
she's
know
already
the
cheated.
fucking meaning. This guy doesn't know what it's like to be fucking starving.
This is one of the things though. He's obviously in Montana, right? And Montana, believe it or not, has a lot of lefties in it, right? And he's one of them.
Well, clearly he is, yeah. Just listen to the diatribe he was going out with. Fucking hell.
So is that the story that you wanted to talk about, Mad Dodge? Okay, is there another story you want to talk about?
His fucking world ended when they didn't have avocado on his chicken sandwich. Holy shit.
We're fighting war for oil and we're doing all this stuff. How are we going to stop climate change? Well, I'll tell you what, dude. Why don't you go on over, all right, to China, which is the largest producer of carbon dioxide in the world. The United States has reduced its carbon output far more than any other nation on Earth.
Yep.
Okay, and yet at the same time, this idiot thinks that, well, by not having a child, I will do something for Mother Earth. I'm sacrificing the fact that I get to play and be a douchebag my entire life, all right, where I can sleep around on my wife, which is the real reason why he got a vasectomy, all right, in my opinion, all right?
Why is he a fucking Mormon?
Right? Let's be honest. This guy, he didn't get a vasectomy for himself.
No, did he?
Fuck, right?
He got a vasectomy because he didn't want to bring a fucking child into the world and pay
Another
for it.
hamster has arrived. Hey,
And
James.
pay for it. He didn't want to bring a child in and pay for this motherfucker.
Hello, James. How are you doing? James Von Maxwell is in the chat.
Yeah, no, I'm just sitting here thinking to myself as I sip on my beer, that guy would hate me. I got like 6 kids and a wife and like 3 cats, a dog. You know, we're burning firewood right now in the wood stove for heat.
In all fairness, Dodge, you've got to get your income somehow, aren't you?
But no, like, yeah, you go ahead and have a vasectomy, dude. The Catholics of the world will just keep overpopulating, and you can fuck off.
No, I know what he actually has to do next, like to show his, his commitment to the lowering the carbon footprint. He's got to go and assassinate that Greta Thunder cunt bitch.
Have you seen that fucking YouTube video where they've overdubbed lines with like death metal?
How dare you!
It's fucking hilarious, man.
Actually,
Yeah, that's the one. How dare you?
you know what's going to happen is that his wife, this guy who got a vasectomy, his wife is going to get pregnant by the guy who's actually fucking her.
Yeah, that's probably true.
And then he won't be able to run for governor of California anymore. Oh, sorry, different guy.
It's not a tumor. It's an illegitimate child.
Legitimate child.
I'll be back.
in
Actually,
9 months with a
pictures of-
fucking paycheck.
I saw pictures of his illegitimate kid, and I tell you, there's no fucking denying it.
I
You
know.
know.
Why it come out jaw first?
Well, I mean, look. I mean, those things. Anybody who thinks that Hollywood is changing somehow because of this whole freaking Harvey Weinstein thing.
No.
Look, Hollywood has been that way.
Hollywood is a twisted fucking society which is only members only, and it is a twisted fucking club.
And I agree with you. And it's going to stay that way. It's not going to change because of Harvey Weinstein and the Me Too movement. Although the Me Too movement is so sacrosanct.
No. That was just the sacrificial lamb, MC. That's all that was. Harvey Weinstein was the sacrificial lamb. Just take the fucking heat off for a bit. That's all that was. This twisted shit goes on in Hollywood every fucking day. Kid, fucking, you name it, it happens. Secret fucking places and hotels. It's a sordid, fucking horrible affair.
Weinstein happened in 2016. Is he in prison yet?
No.
He hasn't even been convicted yet.
Exactly.
And he's not going to.
Even then, their rounds are starting to fall short, anyways. And like, well, fucking, if you didn't know about the Hollywood casting couch and you're in the industry, well, then fucking suck shit. There's no sympathy for you either, you dumb cunt.
No, you're fucking right there, 40, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of these bitches, mate, happily giving him a blowjob for a fucking leading role in a movie.
Are you kidding? They do stirrups on the ceiling if he freaking told them to.
Come into me.
I didn't say told them, asked them. He doesn't even need to tell them. All he has to do is
hang on. I have to have
MC.
I have to have MC clarify something here. Explain stirrups on the ceiling. What kind of sexual maneuver is this you get up to?
Hey, this is just something I heard about. I have never seen it.
Whoa. In all fairness, if you're nimble enough, it is possible.
All right, I'm just pointing that out there. I'm just throwing that out there because it's something that I heard one day.
Just come into my room and have a read through this contract. What's with all the mirrors? What's with all the mirrors, Mr. Weinstein? Don't worry about it. You just read about it.
We got the evidence. We got the butt print off the ceiling. You're going to jail.
Now, that guy, this is why he's never been convicted, MC. That guy can afford lawyers until the fucking end of time.
Well, no, and did Kevin Spacey ever really get in trouble?
No.
They
But you have to remember the guy who accused him is actually dead.
No, but can you remember Kevin Spacey voice when he was in fucking London about fucking 15 years ago on whatever common park or wherever it was, notorious gay scene in London, and he was out just walking his dog at 3 a.m. Yeah, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself, Spacey. You knew it was a British fucking gay fucking spot, and that's why you were out there at 3 a.m.
Well, of course he did, just like all of them. It's the same shit with those people.
It's a sick fucking twisted fucking world, Hollywood is.
Well, no, I was watching, I found on YouTube the final 24. It's like the 24 hours leading up to someone's death. I was watching the one on Belushi. I shared it in the Discord.
I've seen that, dude. I've seen that one.
Yeah, no, and they were trying to make him fucking star in a movie where he had to wear a fucking diaper. Like, what the fuck? And Aykroyd's like, dude, that's a stinker. Walk away from it.
Yeah, but the thing is, because I know a lot about James Belushi, man. Fucking read books, fucking everything about Belushi. Dude, he'll turn up in offices and just basically, is it enough for cocaine? Yeah, sign me. I'll do the fucking movie. As long as it was enough to get a fucking rap. And most people don't know this as well. Robin Williams was with him the same night as he fucking died in that apartment, and Robin Williams got quizzed by police for fucking days and days and days. And not many people know that. Robin Williams was with him and left, and that's when he fucking Belushi died.
Well, I mean, that's part of that Hollywood. That's all part of that Hollywood scene too.
Exactly, MC. Yeah. It's
Fuck,
all
the
part-
Blues Brothers
it's
had a
all part of the
cocaine
machine.
budget.
It's all part of the machine.
Well, actually, Farty, when he went on tour with the Blues Brothers, not the movies, but the tour, they actually hired a bodyguard, not to protect Belushi from other people, to protect Belushi from Belushi. Yeah,
I know that as well, Dodge. Yeah.
Yeah, but there is no protecting Belushi from Belushi. Belushi was a lunatic.
Well, there wasn't, dude. Like what Dodge is saying, and during the Blues Brothers tour, he was missing for 8.5 hours. Dan Aykroyd couldn't find him. Nobody could fucking find him. He was fucking spaced out on heroin, and I think it was in Chicago, maybe, or so. I can't remember this state or town. But basically, he hooked up some fucking heroin and fucking was crashed out on just some guy's fucking sofa. And then they fucking traced him down and he couldn't do the show, and that show was cancelled that night, wherever it was. Because Belushi was fucking smacked off his tits on heroin.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's how he ended up dying, right? With speedballs.
Yeah, heroin and coke speedballs, man.
Robin Williams killed John Belushi.
No, Robin Williams left. He did a bit of coke with him. And then his girlfriend,
His girlfriend was left
at the time, Belushi's girlfriend at the time, was cooking up these speedballs. And Robin Williams had a meeting that he had to go through like the next day, so he left. Then the next thing, Williams is getting phone calls off the police because Belushi had died. And he was one of the last people to see him. And not many people.
So was De Niro. De Niro was a part of that as well.
I've heard stories. I've read little bits. But I also know De Niro fucked one of our page 3 models from the UK as well. He flew her over from the UK, met her in an hotel room. Charmaine Sinclair was her name. And De Niro flew her over. He saw her in page 3 while he was in the UK once. And then De Niro got the horn because he likes black chick.
Allegedly left.
and flew her over. This is seriously, MC. I'm not lying.
Oh,
flew
no.
her over.
Eldridge Gods' statement allegedly left.
Oh, yeah. De Niro's got a little bit of a past as well, I tell you.
Oh, no. De Niro's a disgusting piece of garbage as far as I'm concerned. Good actor, great actor. Can't argue with his acting chops. But then again,
he needs to stay out of the political field. Actors do not belong in politics.
There are some actors that are really good and so forth. But there's and he's one of them. I think De Niro is probably one of the greater actors that we've had in modern, more or less the modern age.
Yeah, without a doubt, he's the greatest this generation of actors, without a shadow of a doubt. But he needs to shut the fuck up, man. Actors should stay actors and not get into the world of politics.
Well, the reason actors get into politics, to be honest, is because they were brought in. Whether they liked it or not, they were brought into in the United States. Actors were brought into politics.
Can you remember that thing a few years ago when Clint Eastwood was addressing a empty chair? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, no, that's you got within the United States. Ever since the actors became political figures, all right, when probably due to World War II. When they brought in celebrities to help support, probably.
Yeah, I know.
That's pretty good.
Fucking funny. That is Aldrich God.
But when they were brought in to support the war effort, all right, as celebrities.
Yeah, but you've always had that.
Right there, they were going to be brought into politics.
You've always had that, though. The comedians and vaudeville acts, even from back in the day, always went over to wherever and support the troops. You've always had that.
Yeah, but it's after that, though. You got to think about what happened after that within the United States sphere. After World War II, what do you have? What's the next big thing you end up with actors and actresses? Is you have the Red Scare. Okay.
Oh yeah, the big 50s.
And so they were brought in, all right, on a continuous basis. So within the United States, like it or not, the government brought the celebrities, actors and actresses, into the sphere, into governmental spheres, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, and then tried to fucking dismiss most of them as communists in the 50s.
Well, like it or not, a lot of them were, all right, card-carrying communists, but they were card-carrying communists.
The list was a little overstretched.
But the world had changed. People forget this. The 1910s, all right, the 1920s were a lot different than the 1960s. All right.
Oh, yeah, obviously. Yeah.
And there was a lot
by
of people,
many means. Yeah.
Yeah, there were a lot of people that were part of the 1930s scenes, including one of the greatest American actresses. All right, that's really probably the most underrated American actress, and that's Lucille Ball. All right.
Oh, fuck that! No, without Lucille Ball, we would have never had Star Trek.
That's very true. But Lucille Ball was also, all right, she was a struggling actress at the time. Her and her husband, Desi Arnaz, at one point were both registered in the Communist Party.
Yeah, I know this. I've read a little bit about Lucille Ball. Yeah. And now she became like a pioneer of television from, like you say, these roots.
Right. Now, but the world was different. The world had changed from the 1930s and so forth when they had become members of the Communist Party to the 1950s when she gets brought in front of Congress. Okay, the world had the communists had changed, the threat to communism had changed, all that had changed. People forget this. There was not.
Well, fucking one of my things I really love and looking into is the whole 50s fucking, have you now or ever been part of the Communist Party, the McCarthy thing and all that. I fucking love that period of American history where they're trying to basically try Hollywood people, journalists. I'm really into that stuff.
The thing is that during that time frame, what people forget is a lot of them were. And they forget why Americans were reacting the way they were. And you can't look at that time frame without understanding that, first of all, you end up with Fuchs. Thank you very much, you British bastards. All right, who was a dedicated communist and basically gave over all the atomic secrets that he could straight to the Russians or straight to the Soviets. And the Soviets, whether people want to believe this or not, beat us to the hydrogen bomb. Yes, we detonated a hydrogen device, all right, but to make it into bomb form, the first hydrogen bomb, all right, was detonated by the Soviet Union.
Well, that I could believe that because the Soviets put the first man in space before the Americans.
Well, that's true, but the reality is that the first man that they put in space, they didn't ever tell anybody about.
Well, they didn't tell anybody about the 2 dead dogs and the 3 dead chimps either, did they?
Well, no, I'm talking about the first man to orbit, right, was not Gagarin. All right, the first man to orbit actually came down because it wasn't a successful reentry, and he came down in China, and he was badly hurt, and it took a while for him to recover, and they've never admitted that they put him in space.
I think I fucking read something like that.
Yeah.
There was a cover-up with the Chinese government and the Russian government or something.
Yep.
I think that recalls something I read a long time ago. That does.
Yeah. So it's quite an interesting time. But yeah, the Gagarin was not the first Soviet pilot into space. And even then, to be honest, the Soviets even cheated that, because in order to actually have traveled in space the way they had made the rules was that he had to go up in his capsule, and the capsule had to come back to Earth. Well, the capsule came back to Earth, but he wasn't in it. What they did is it was when it was coming back for re-entry, they ejected him, and he basically came down on a parachute outside his capsule, outside the capsule.
I've not read that, but that is very fucking interesting.
Yeah,
Fucking hell, that is very interesting.
The other thing the Soviets had learned that they didn't bother telling anybody about is they had a similar accident to what happened with Apollo 1, where all a 100% oxygen environment, all right, had caught fire, and I'm not sure if anybody died, but they realized that just pure oxygen was a bad idea, and that they had already moved over to.
I'm sorry, Lofi just made me fucking laugh.
Have you what is the Rotterdam District Council?
Rotherham.
Yeah.
No, I'm not from that part of the UK.
Oh, okay.
So,
in answer to your question, that was the rape gangs, and the council was trying to cover it up. And the police didn't want to know about it and stuff.
The Tsar bomb beat everything. The Tsar bomb is the largest nuclear device tested in the tested on the planet so far. It was approximately 60. They estimate between 60 to 100 megatons, but no one's ever admitted just what it was, how big it was.
Well, since we're talking about space anyway, what do you think about this Mars colony thing? You think it's gonna work?
No.
well, yeah, look, at the end of the day, we already come from there to begin with. So,
We already come from Mars, you think?
yeah, defo, we fucked it up like we're fucking up everything now. Everything's all gonna die, blah, 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 blah. But by then, we'd fucking suss space travel in another fucking 200,000 years. We'd already suss space travel, giving a planet life, breathable, planting trees, creating an atmosphere. We've already done it. We already came from there to here. And now, we're fucking this one up again. We never learned, so we're going back. We're going to go back there.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. Could be
I
wrong.
know, but it's a
Could be
lovely.
wrong, but
I know, but it's a lovely idea.
I just not sure that that's an accurate assessment of things. Could be
Look,
wrong.
I mean, I can't put the science behind it, obviously.
But no, the Mars thing. Can we put men on Mars and bring them back? Yes. Are we going to be able to establish a Mars colony? No, not no, but hell no.
Hey, though, in all fairness, though, the Chinese have been trying to figure out how to put a breathable atmosphere on Mars for about 20 odd years now.
No, the Chinese,
Actually, no. See, the other way around. They've been trying to see if a Mars atmosphere would be breathable on Earth with all of their pollution and shit.
But the problem you're going to have there, man, it's going to be a one-child policy.
The Chinese have been talking about putting huge solar plants, all right, solar sails and solar collectors, all right, out into space and using microwave energy to beam it back to the Earth. This is one of their plans. Now, if they ever even attempted something like that, the damage to the Earth, it would be incalculable. All right, I can tell you that right now.
Well, what about Mars 1? Look at those modules. They look mobile.
Yeah. Look at those computer-generated images. Look at those computer-generated images. Because it's all lies, apparently. Everything you see is computer-generated bullshit.
Let me put it to you this way, in a different manner. If you wanted to create a Mars colony, before you do anything else, you are going to have to put down on Mars multiple nuclear reactors.
Well, you've got to defeat them giant ants first.
Okay, you're gonna have to put down serious nuclear reactors down there, and those areas that those nuclear reactors are going to be operating in you can't have anybody going around there because they're going to be highly radioactive while operation is going on. And that's the only way to constantly provide enough power to actually create a sustainable environment, all right, for those people. Now, at that point right there, think about that. What are you going to do with those reactors if something happens to any of those reactors? You start writing off the colony because that's what you would have to do.
They've already raised $1 million. That's since 2011, though. That's not that much, right?
No, it's $1.50 really. 350.
So, is Mars One the thing Musk wants to do, or is that a different thing?
I'm guessing he is probably a part of it. I mean, like, well, how are you going to get there?
I don't know. Let's look. They only 3 candidates remain. They have the astronauts found.
Yeah, but isn't China now basically breaking the Star Wars treaty?
Pretty much.
So, did Trump have a point about creating a space navy?
No, no. But yeah, well, Trump actually does think that there's giant alien ants out there that are coming to get us. First thing he'll do is invade Clendathu once we find it.
Alright, I found, this is a SpaceX one. This is the one that's probably moving forward. They already have the engines,
Starship.
the Falcon 9. What do you think? You think they could do it?
Well, if you have a look at what they're actually like, the prototypes themselves, they look awfully fucking like childishly fucking B-grade movie sort of technology kind of thing. And there's a lot of things he's doing that's counterintuitive, like with heat shielding and stuff like that. He's reckons he's going to be pumping methane through vents in the bottom of the aircraft, and that'll cause some sort of Newtonian bubble. But you have a look at the actual test beds that they've got so far. There's dents in the metal. It really looks like that they've just got like really thin sheet metal around it. It doesn't really look like a structure at all. And then the other day, with one of the lower halves of the Starship, they were doing a pressure test on one of the fuel tanks, and it ruptured spectacularly. So I think they've even fucked one of the prototypes, and it just sort of disintegrated too. So, where it ruptured anyway, that doesn't look very strong. I can't see that being reusable somehow.
Well, I don't know. He's already shown that it works. He's already proved it. He's gone up into space. He's came back. He's done a vertical landing.
Yeah,
he has reused it multiple times. He's accomplished the steps that NASA has said.
Stop, wrong. He hasn't done this one yet. The rocket that's in the bottom of this is called the BFR. That's never flown yet because it hasn't even been built yet. What you're talking about are the Falcon 9 rockets that he's been using to launch everything else. Yes, they have worked, but this rocket is supposed to be something along the lines of 4 to 6 times the size of a Falcon 9. This is going to be huge. It's the size of a Saturn V, basically, when this is all completed.
They're also using an entire different rocket engine on it that they've never tested.
Mhm.
I mean, the rockets that they're using now are not the rockets they're going to be using for that new ship, because they need a far more efficient rocket system, and they've done some ground testing on that system, but they haven't done enough. They
Only the
only
upper end of it.
one major failure when they tested that engine recently.
Oh, the Draco motor. Yeah, that was poor design actually, because it's a hypergolic rocket where they just mix two chemicals together and it creates an explosive reaction. But inside the plumbing system, there's one part of it where the more volatile, more corrosive element of the hypergolic system, when it was activated, it caused a surge back through the system, which ruptured a pipe, and that's what detonated it. But they've redesigned that now. All it needed was a simple one-way valve. $2 part or 50-cent part.
Yeah, but 50-cent parts going to be hard to come by on the way to Mars.
Well, no, and am I seeing that right? Is the rocket twice as big as the actual capsule?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, like it's the picture that you got up there. It's in half.
On the moon, the Saturn V rocket that went to the moon.
Well, I get that, but we're dealing with a jump in technology, right? You'd think we'd be a bit more efficient.
Okay.
Well, most of the stuff's already been done by the governments. I mean, these guys have just got all the technical packages and they're off they're gone. Pretty much. Like the government's already funded most of the research into this.
The Saturn V, for all of its lack of technology, is still, in many ways, a marvel of simplicity. But as a result, it's a marvel of reliability as well. The more things that you stick on an engine to make it that much more efficient, the more things that can go wrong. All right, and once something goes wrong in a rocket engine, all right, during liftoff, that's it. You're done.
How much more efficient is the Falcon 9 then? How much did they upgrade it from the Saturn V?
Oh,
it's not comparable realistically. Like the same technology and all this kind of stuff's there. We can just do it on computers now instead of hand build it. But the actual efficiency of that rocket is probably, the Falcon 9 represents probably about 5% of an actual Saturn V in its capabilities. It's not that
probably
big.
I think closer to 10%, but the difference in weight now as a result is massive.
No, I mean in actual performance and stuff like that. If you compare, if you launch a Saturn V in its full stack and a Falcon 9, the Falcon 9 is basically going to last halfway through the first the first stage of the fucking Saturn.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
Is that because one was made, civilian area and the other was military?
It's more to a point that the Falcon 9s are immensely small compared to the first stage of the Saturn V. They are very, very small rockets.
The F1 engines are freaking huge. You can stick in almost an entire school under them.
Like you're talking probably, you could probably, like if you stuck them in like breadsticks in a tin, you could probably get about, I'd say, a dozen Falcon 9s inside of a Saturn V stage 1.
But the vertical landing is what impresses me. And if he can't make it to Mars, okay. I do believe that his idea of making intercontinental travel much quicker will work. What do you guys think?
This is another laughable thing about that, because he reckons he was going to use the BFRs for those, the big Falcon rockets, not big fucking rockets. And these are supposed to be landing in cities and stuff like that. And I think this is from the still shot where it's launching out of Manhattan, Lower Manhattan or something like that. But they've done the calculations on the immense sound this thing will make, and it'll basically detonate most windows in Lower Manhattan just from taking off. It'll pretty much deafen everybody. The concussion is supposed to be what they called earthquake-like. So you're going to have problems with structures in buildings and stuff like that, and they'll literally hear this for almost 20 miles. Audibly.
Windows.
That's never going to be anywhere near a city centre or anything like that. It'll just from the sheer damage, the concussion of the blast.
I'll be honest with you, you really want to know the truth. If they were trying to do something that would have possibilities like that, you'd have to take a look at what the Russians are doing right now with that nuclear propulsion missile.
Yeah, is that a closed system or open system? I guess if it's on a missile, who gives a shit if you're just spewing radiation out the ass?
It's supposed to be, from my understanding, it's supposed to be a closed system, but there's the shielding on it is minimal.
Yeah, how closed is that closed system really?
Well, it's not when it blows up. It's not closed anymore.
Well, okay, let's say, because the design I saw was a platform out in the water for these rockets to land on. So even if it's just coastal areas that you could do this, or like Great Lakes and stuff like that, couldn't you build a platform and land these rockets a safe distance away, kind of like in Florida, where you can watch
do you really think you can predict the actual landing of something falling to Earth on a little platform and designate that area? Really?
Here's another funny little thing about sound is it travels over water quite well. It's going to have to be a long way out to sea.
Well, do I think I could do it? Jez, no.
No, nobody could do it. Nobody could do it. That's what I'm saying. You can't pinpoint re-entry and have a little.
Hasn't he done it already?
Actually, yeah, SpaceX has had a few successful landings on the barge out in the ocean.
All right, then I stand corrected.
They've had a lot of fuck ups, like a lot of them fell over and blew up and stuff. But they've actually finally had a few successes too.
Yeah, but those are those are the smaller motors, and those motors never achieved orbital status.
And not only that too, when they did come down, they're nowhere near under full thrust either.
No, and that's a major point, because if you're going into orbit, you've got to, if you're going to take something from orbit and put it back into the Earth, you have to scrub off all that energy. You've got to scrub off all that speed. Okay, so that is not something that's necessarily easy to do. That's what all the heating is. That's what they're trading for. During reentry, what they do is they trade speed for heat. They let things heat up so that they can slow down. Now, if you try to do that with fuel, is it possible theoretically to do with fuel? Yeah, but you're trying to now get kind of a good relationship between, okay, some of it's going to be done with fuel, some of it's going to be done with trading speed for heat. Okay, so just how much fuel do you need versus how much are you going to trade that for heat when you come in for reentry?
Hey, I must have missed this. Alright, Dragon is a free-flying spacecraft designed to deliver both cargo and people to orbiting destinations. It is the only spacecraft currently flying that is capable of returning significant amounts of cargo to Earth. Currently, Dragon carries cargo to space, but was designed in the beginning to carry humans. The first demonstrated flight under NASA's Commercial Crew Program launched on March 2nd, 2019. It docked atomically with the International Space Station. It was the first one to do so, and that's why I kept reading when you were trying to talk. I wanted to spit all that out in one breath.
Notice how they don't talk about the one they tried before that.
They've actually been doing this quite successfully for 6 months, like just the supply, or
Sure.
more than 6 months for the supply part alone.
And what did they?
Just
2 years ago, they tried it as well. What happened?
oh,
It didn't dock. It failed to dock. So,
well, teething problems. They got everyone to work since.
So they ended up having to redesign the thing. It took them 2 years to fix that problem.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a private company doing the same things that governments are doing. That's impressive enough. And NASA made its fair share of accidents. Challenger comes to mind.
Oh no! There's a lot of things that NASA has screwed up on. I'm not trying to defend NASA in any way, shape, or form. But I'm just pointing out that there are issues involved in this. You can't just ignore some of the things involved into how much this is. And let's be perfectly honest. While you say that it's a private company, that's true. But is all the funding private, or is the vast majority of the funding coming from the government?
Yeah, there's a lot of military funding going to SpaceX and stuff like that. They have done a few government satellites and things for the US government and all this. That's part of the kickback. You know, they got
Tesla, theoretically, Tesla is a private company too, but the vast majority of its funding came from the government as well.
Yeah, South Australian government, they bought a dirty great big battery off him.
Yeah, no, you guys are absolutely right. I will not argue with that point. And that's something I don't like. NASA has kind of co-opted SpaceX, in my opinion, and now they're getting bogged down in the same issues NASA had.
No, but you see, well, that's the whole name of the game. Like I said before, the government has already done all the legwork and all this kind of stuff in just getting into space and all this kind of shit. And if you do want to play in the game, you need the money, and the biggest money that's out there is coming from the US government, namely the Defense Department. Realistically, so you need a leg up in the industry, right? Here's some money, and do you want some technical packages? Like this will help you out with making your rockets and shit. Fucking, as long as you can do it for cheap for us too. So that's just the way this business goes. It always has done.
Yeah, no, is NASA even working on the next shuttle, or are they just going to use SpaceX?
They're not really going to have a shuttle as such, but that funny little space plane that they've been using, can't remember what it's fucking called, that's supposed to be like a new generation test bed / bloody
X-43 or whatever that is, or X-50
X-47. Yeah, that's also too. It's supposed to be their little thing they can go up and repair spy satellites with eventually when it works.
What happened to going back to the moon and then on? Like, NASA doesn't have a goal anymore,
Blue
right?
Horizon is supposed to be doing that. Blue Origin. Was it Horizon or Origin?
Blue Origin.
That's Musk's thing, right? Elon Musk's.
SpaceX is Elon Musk. Blue Origin's a different mob. They're another private mob.
But I thought they were part of that.
No, they're a different mob altogether.
Okay. Blue Origin is what they're looking at for going back to the moon. Blue Origin claims that they could do it within like three to 4 years, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And that's another thing there too. Like, a lot of people don't realise SpaceX isn't the only player out there. There's ESA, there's the Japanese, even the South Africans want to crack at this. And then there's about 3 or 4 private mobs, including a startup from New Zealand. So, like, this is big business now. And everyone's vying for the cheaper thing.
So it's pretty much a race to Mars at this point. Mars is the new Antarctica.
Could very well be. Like, for all we know, the Chinese might stick a bloke on Mars just to say, fuck you lot, you can't come.
No, the Chinese their big goal right now, I think, is to land on the moon. They're going to prove they can do a moon landing first. That's what they seem to be gearing toward.
Yeah, but don't they have to make a space colony in order to one up over America?
Maybe, but they're not. to be honest, the resources it takes to do some of that stuff is beyond the constant capabilities of China. China wants to play in the space race, but they're not. They're a long ways from actually being able to actually sustain something, or they would have already put up an orbital station.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing you got to watch for. If they're actually going to be anywhere near capable, they're basically going to learn from the mistakes of the Americans and do what Werner von Braun and what SpaceX are doing now. Well, Werner von Braun wanted to do this first, but basically have like a shuttle system that only fed a space station, and the space station was where you constructed your moon rocket and all this kind of stuff, so you'd have a more economical trip to and from. You would need such gigantic machines to do so, and that was supposed to be how they were supposed to create the moon colony. Now, when people start building these space stations to construct, intergalactic flights and shit like that, that's the point where everyone's going now. So when the Chinese start doing that, that's when you can say, right, they're almost ready to go to the moon.
Yeah, but the first thing they're going to do when they do that is the next step is they're going to have to clean up space.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. But I'm trying to remember who it was that
Right. On that note, I shall be leaving you, chaps. It's been a pleasure, as always, Dodge. Thank you for letting me come on and whatnot. And I shall see you all soon.
Yep.
For now.
Toodles.
I'm going to disappear too. It's getting late.
All right, good night.
All right.
See ya.
That's a pretty cool looking lander, though. I'll give them style points. What do you think?
That thing is theoretically just massive. You don't even realize how big that thing is. That thing is huge. That's a whole living quarters inside that that round dome.
Yeah, that thing on the top right of it, that's one of the big gun turrets off the Iowa.
How many of these things do they plan on sending? Are they going to make a little moon city or what?
Yeah, basically that's what their idea is. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, that's another thing that they're looking at too, is you're sending giant ships as like habitat ships, and you pretty much land them right next to each other, and it's an instant city ship.
I'd go on vacation on the moon if it was affordable. It won't be, but if it was, that'd be cool.
Eldritch God, China is screwed. Their space program is just smoke and mirrors to distract people from the fact that their economy is imploding. Well, maybe to a point, but you got to admit that they're only the third nation to orbit a human.
Yeah, and you should have seen the size of her.
You know what I mean.
But yeah, no, that's a pretty cool looking lander, and really, that's a whole living quarters in there. What's the gravity difference on the moon? Isn't that going to mess with someone's bones? Like, you're going to start... The first generation of moon people would be okay, but the second, that'd be odd, huh?
There's 1/6. The moon has 1/6 of the gravity of Earth.
And yes, while 0G does affect the human metabolism and the bone structure and density and all this kind of stuff, you'll probably find that it happens a little bit less on the moon because you do have slightly more gravity.
For that portion of it, yeah. But the biggest problem is the lesser pressure that they put in those capsules for extended period of times has a very negative effect, to be honest, on your eyeballs.
Mm.
When you go back into normal gravity, that's why many of the astronauts, when they come back, they now all of a sudden need glasses if they've been out for an extended period of time.
So you're pretty much going one way, right? You don't plan on coming back at that point.
Well, if you go into Mars, okay, in Mars, yeah, pretty much it's going to be a while before you come back. If you come back at all. If you're actually going to try and do a colony. A moon colony, the moon colony is going to have the same issue, to be quite frankly, that a Mars colony will have. It'll be a matter of how much energy can you sit up there and constantly supply. The advantage of the moon is you can actually power the moon, a moon system with solar power. That would work. There are ways to put up enough solar panels to actually continually provide power to the moon colony. Now, okay, so that's one thing you can do with the moon. You can't do that on Mars, but you can do that on the moon. And the main reason is because there's no atmosphere on the moon.
And you're not going to be able to create one either. I mean, wouldn't the best idea for a moon colony be to go underground in the moon? And no?
Mm-mm. People who say that kind of stuff just do not understand reality. Okay, I'm serious. Because what happens if something cracks the ground? Everybody dies.
Yeah, but what happens when all that debris that hits the moon, hence all the craters, hits your little moon
that debris
capsule?
that hits the moon cracks the ground and everybody dies. Okay.
Well, what are you going to do about the space debris then? I mean, because look at that capsule. It's just sitting there waiting to get hit like a car outside a high school.
Okay, in the capsule, what you can have is where if a capsule get hit, yeah, all the people that are in that area die. But because it's compartmentalized, the rest of the compartments are fine.
I guess. I mean, you know what you're signing up for. Yeah.
What was that? I'm sorry, man.
Well, no, and everybody that's up there signed up for that, so they know the risk.
Oh yeah, until babies are born there, and we've already had U.S. astronauts screwing in space.
Well, I mean, wouldn't you?
No, especially not the ones that admitted to it. Look at her.
But yeah, we're almost at the 2.5 hour mark. Anything else you want to talk about, MC, or should we wrap it up?
I've got a whole slew of things if you want. I mean, you want to do the Google claims controller for the new Stadia console is gender neutral?
What? Go ahead. I'll stop sharing my screen. What the hell?
Here we go. Google claims the controller for its new Stadia console is gender neutral in bizarre marketing campaign. Google is apparently trying to market its new game console Stadia to women by choosing gender neutral colors for its controller. So in other words, you're not actually you want women to choose this by putting a console out there that's supposed to be gender neutral because women are attracted to neutrality, not something that's like supposed to be for them. I mean, if you're trying to market something to women, are you going to say, well, I'm not trying to market it to women, I'm trying to market it to neutrals? Google's vice president and head of the Stadia, Phil Harrison, bragged about their new gender-neutral designs in an interview in CNN Business. Some of our historical competitors in the console space have a bit of more masculine and a bit more mechanical in their approach. So Stadia developers considered hundreds of colors and polled gamers and eventually decided on 3 extraordinary options for controllers, likely never to be seen by human eyes: the white, the black, and the light green, the wasabi color, because that's neutral, has universal appeal. It looks like it's lime green.
It's just to make the eco freaks happy.
Google Director of Design Isabella Olesen, ignoring the existence of non-binary and genderqueer people, said, both men and women have gravitated toward this color. It ended up by being super gender neutral, but still very expressive. It's really hard to find colors like that. Lime green is the color everybody likes. Now, I'll be honest with you. If I'm given a choice between white, black, or lime green, my third choice is lime green.
Well, that's not very neutral of you.
Well, let me ask: are you going to grab the lime green controller?
No, I'd rather have the black one.
See,
Racist.
Marty, do you want to sit up there and play with the lime green controller when you're nuking Moscow?
Oh no, I can't because then I'll be sexist or whatever the fuck it is because I'll be grabbing it by its boobies. I mean, it's too big. So what the fuck are those things? And rubbing its cheek buttons.
Oh, Eldritch, that's good.
So African American, Caucasians, and a hospital room mint. I guess the lime green. You know, lime green is such a popular color. You see cars all over the place. You see people driving lime green cars everywhere. Where did they come back and make this statement? There is no way anybody's buying a lime green car or a lime green house.
MC, I hate to admit this, but my ex-girlfriend's mother owned one like a lime-ish green Jeep Renegade. Ugliest thing I've ever seen.
Get a new girlfriend right then.
And I said, dude, I said ex-girlfriend. I said ex-girlfriend.
Good plan, then. Good plan. I mean, come on. Let's be honest about this. Who the hell's going to do this? This is ridiculous.
No, man. I want a lime green Ford Pinto. That's an awesome ride.
Dude, if you want a Pinto, there's something wrong with you.
You know the ones where you get rear-ended and you blow up? That's the one.
Next thing we know, he's going to go and buy an AMC Pacer.
Grow his hair long and bob along to Bohemian Rhapsody.
This thing is just ugly. It's just ugly. The developers considered hundreds of colors, polled gamers, and eventually decided on 3 extraordinary options. I mean, come on, folks. This is ridiculous.
Let me guess. Camouflage blue, and black.
Yeah, right? If you want something that's gender neutral, do camo. My wife loves camo. I like camo. The kids like camo. Everybody loves camo. Come on, go with camouflage.
We're sure women everywhere will be absolutely thrilled to learn that they can finally play video games thanks to Google's kindly discovering of gender neutral colors such as lime green. They say light green. I say lime green.
Just make it pink.
It's like, yeah, well, believe it or not, women would sit up there and be willing to do that, but guys would never play with the freaking controller. But that might be good for them because,
dude, I would say airbrush a new color on it.
Something has to be done. It has to be killed with fire. Kill it before it escapes.
Well, no, and how many people play Steam games with a controller anyway, really? Most computer gamers use a mouse and keyboard. If they wanted to play with a console controller, they would grab their Xbox One or their PS4.
Well, there's also the option of the joystick. And I'm not talking about the one attached between your legs.
So there's one more story that we have to talk about, though. Have to talk about it. That's this one right here. Whoops. There we go. Tesla claimed its pickup truck was bulletproof and smashed the windows with a metal ball. Watch Tesla unveil its electric pickup truck, the Cybertruck, in a demo gone awry. This is freaking hilarious. You've got to watch this. This is freaking hilarious, right? First of all, the ad's got to go through. So we gotta get rid of this part.
I swear that whoever came up with the shape of that truck is a brain dead moron.
Yeah, that was pretty.
Like,
Here we go. Here.
That's a truck? It looks more like a DeLorean.
It gets better.
Exactly. And I know in my city, I've been seeing quite a few Teslas, but I doubt they'd buy that.
But speaking of John DeLorean, though, apparently a few days ago, the fucking feds raided a Tesla factory and found shit tons of meth and fucking coke and shit.
No, seriously?
No kidding. I read that somewhere a few days ago.
He's just looking at it like, who put the real glass in there?
If the ball didn't go through, the glass is going to shatter anyway.
Yeah.
Not like that. Not like that. It's not.
Yeah, no, there's definitely not enough glass in there.
Okay, that's supposed to be bulletproof glass. It may crinkle a little bit, but not shatter like that. I'm sorry. Not with the speed at which he threw that ball. But I honestly think, and somebody mentioned this, I honestly think this is probably true. I think that he did this intentionally. I think he did this intentionally to get everybody to go, ooh, look at me and look at Musk and look at this thing. It was the greatest marketing ploy ever, because when he comes back and says, well, now we got it fixed, and he's going to have the guy throw it at the real glass now, the real armored glass, then everyone will go, yay, they got it fixed, and everybody will want to buy this piece of shit. Because that thing is hideous.
I seriously want to know, how long do their batteries realistically last? Like normal people driving them, not like someone who's like an Uber car nerd.
I don't know how long the actual charge lasts, but the capacitors in the doors where you usually want to cut into to rescue someone from a car accident have it take about 5 hours to discharge, even though after you've cut the first responders loop. And not knowing how long the battery charge lasts, I do know how long they'll keep setting fire to themselves once they've been in an accident. That's about 4 days.
Well, I don't mean like how long does a charge last in terms of like you drive it from point A to point B. I mean like the lifetime of the battery. What point does it become a useless piece of junk? Because every battery eventually will wear out.
Yeah,
the point you hit a solid object.
Batteries.
Yeah, the point you hit a solid object is when those things become fucking useless to you.
Well, and I think that they estimate those things are what, 5 years, 6 years?
That was with the Prius. I'm not sure.
Well, they estimated that for the Prius, but my family's Prius, which was used when we bought it in 2011, it was only a year old. We put 250,000 miles on it. Almost 10 years later, the batteries are still good. And my mother and little sister both drive it like a freaking sports car. And my dad and I, for about 2 years, would drive about 400 miles a weekend with 1,000 pounds of cave diving equipment in the back.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I can't give you an answer. Right? I mean, how effective are they going to be? How much better are they going to be at that point, etc.? Who knows?
Well, for me, that is the real question. Now, I'm really looking forward to when the day comes that we have solid state batteries, because that's supposed to be like, holy crap, so much better.
Well, those won't really be batteries. Those will be basically just capacitors at that point, which is really what a battery is. You can consider a battery a chemical capacitor, but I mean, it's what you're doing is you're trading chemical energy for mechanical energy. A capacitor would be storing electricity, which is where they really want to get to, if they ever get to that point. But we're a long ways away.
Well, I mean, they have it in the lab, but it takes like 15 years to go from lab to practical use.
Yeah.
That's what it did with lithium polymer.
Here's another story for you, Mad Dodge. You'll like this story.
Is it about electric cars never
Nope,
ever
nope.
existing?
Nope. Ruth Bader Ginsburg hospitalized after fevers and chills.
Oh, will
Supreme
this
Court
bitch
Justice-
die already? Just fucking die!
Ruth Bader Ginsburg was hospitalized on Friday night after she experienced chills and fever during the day, but her symptoms have died down. The court said in a statement. She's now at room temperature.
She needs to. She need. For the sake of the country, not really for her, she either needs to step down or go ahead and just fucking die. Like how? This is like. She literally has 9 lives.
She was fed intravenous with antibiotics and fluids. Her symptoms have abated, and she's expected to be released from the hospital as early as Sunday morning, the court added.
Okay, release her from the hospital and then put her in a kennel. Just this
They're
way,
making a movie.
Justice.
They're
Stick
making
her
a
in the
movie
fucking
about
nursing
her.
home.
And they're making a movie about her weekend at Ruthie's.
No, this is getting ridiculous, okay? Scalia, for God's sakes, only took a CIA agent and a pillow. Can we handle this bitch already?
I think you're being a little vicious there, aren't you, Mad Dodge?
I've had it with her. I'm done. She's never there, and when she's there, she's sleeping. Bitch, you're asleep.
She's gotten to the point where, well, it has gotten to the point with her that I think anybody with any real sense, with no political motivation, would look at her and say, "Yeah, you need to get out of here. You're not doing your job." But I think the Democrats are just hoping maybe we can get Trump out next year, and then finally we can get rid of Ginsburg.
But it's never going to happen. I mean, she's going to die in office. She's
Oh,
not going to be pushed out. You got to understand that she's not going to be pushed out. Right? Her own self identity is too tied up in being a Supreme Court justice. She will not quit on her own. She will die in office. That's just reality.
Can we do something drastic and make an amendment to the Constitution of term limits on the Supreme Court?
Sure. Go through the amendment process. You could do that.
Because this is as bad as FDR dying in office. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Something needs to change. I think this is the moment we need to make an amendment.
Well, good luck. Propose it, get it to pass, and then start going to state to get it ratified.
Well, and more importantly, term limits in the legislature.
Yeah, I think the term limits in the legislature are necessary as well. No, but I do agree with Mad Dodge. We should have a 20-year. You should only be able to go on to the Supreme Court for maybe 20 years, and that's it.
Yeah, this isn't okay, and all jokes aside, because, by the way, YouTube, I was joking. I don't wish ill upon Ginsburg.
None of us
do. But, in all seriousness, when she does show up, she is asleep. She is no longer coherent half the time. I bet you anything, if you asked her aides, they'd tell you the same if you bought them a few drinks. Okay, this is getting bad, and she is a detriment to the Supreme Court at this point.
Well, think of it this way: a company is not going to keep you employed when you can't even. You can only show up to the job like a third of the time, and even when you are there, you're not doing anything, and you're constantly falling asleep. They're going to tell you, "Sorry, you're too old. Get out."
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation, but she's still there. And whether you like it or not, she's going to be. No one's going to tell her to leave. She's there for life, unless you sit up there and pass an amendment to get rid of her, right? But of course, then you're getting rid of a bunch more, which is not necessarily a bad thing, all right? But the one thing that would bother people about that is it runs the risk of adding even more politics. As bad as it is right now, it's going to add even more politics to the court system, the judiciary. that's unfortunate. One of the unfortunate things that's going to happen with it. So,
Well, MC, the court's been politicized pretty much forever, but especially I think since the early 20th century.
well, the courts were attempted to be politicized. I mean, they're to an extent, but not like they are now. The real politicization that you're seeing in the courts began in the 80s, right? When they borked. When Justice Theodore Kennedy, all right, basically pulled the gloves off and just sat up there and went after him on a character issue, right? That had nothing to do with anything. And then the second person that they tried to replace him with, all right, they came out and said that he had smoked marijuana, and he admitted that he smoked marijuana, so therefore he was barred from it. So that's how you end up with squishy little moderates being added to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, no, and I think at the very beginning, John Adams should have been a Supreme Court justice and not the second president. He didn't really fit the presidential job. That's why he was a one-term president. I think the second president should have been Thomas Jefferson, and John Adams should have been the leader of the Supreme Court. But that's my opinion historically. The Supreme Court through time has made a lot of wrong choices. A lot of wrong choices. Roe v. Wade, Dred Scott. I mean, a lot of bad. And they were mainly political choices that they made. When they dive into politics, they go astray, right?
Well, I mean, you can take a look at the Dred Scott decision. And the Dred Scott decision wasn't as horrible as people think it was until, all right, you examined one of the aspects where they basically claimed that anybody that was of African American or African descent, right, any black person, right, couldn't be a U.S. citizen. And that's when they went over the damn line. Okay, because that right there was completely unconstitutional. Now, if you wanted to come back and try and split hairs along the lines of saying that the states don't have the ability to determine whether or not someone's a U.S. citizen or not, meaning that if a runaway slave ran to a free state, that free state couldn't just determine that that individual is a U.S. citizen. All right, you can see the logic behind that. It's not that I agree with it. It's that you can see the legal logic behind that. But the legal logic that they then applied going further, which was, well, in that status, anybody born in the United States from a runaway slave, they couldn't possibly be a U.S. citizen then either, even though they were born in a free state. Therefore, all blacks, all right, in the country, because they were born that way, therefore none of them are U.S. citizens. All right, that was the absolute heinous part of the Dred Scott decision, and most people don't even realize it of how far the Dred Scott decision went down that damn rabbit hole.
Yeah, no, and it was a horrible decision, and it set loose slave hunters all over the North who would just kidnap people and then sell them in open.
Well, right, because if you were black, you were no longer a U.S. citizen. Think about that.
Yeah, it was the worst decision in Supreme Court history. It really was. And Aunt Jack, you're wrong. Thomas Jefferson was not a Federalist. Just so you know, you're mistaking him with John Adams.
It depends on how you're looking at that, though, Mad Dodge. Because who was it that signed the Louisiana Purchase?
That is true. That is true. And he got a lot of shit from Madison on that one.
He got a lot of shit from a lot of people, but it went through. So
yeah, kind of like the Alaska deal. Best deal we ever made, but we thought it was a shit sandwich at first.
Well, that's where a lot of that stuff comes from. Unfortunately,
Well, it also has been a little bit of a mixed bag because it's not exactly easy to get to the majority of Alaska. Heck, most of Alaska, if you want to get anywhere, you're gonna have to get in like a Cessna, like a Cessna 172 or something.
You can walk. Just start walking. Say hi to the bears for me. I
Actually,
mean, if you want to homestead, you can homestead in Alaska.
yeah, you can.
Oh, yeah.
And when I was in flight school, that's what I was going to do. The 2-year course, get my pilot's license, and go up to Alaska, run bush. And I was probably going to end up homesteading up there. Hopefully, work for somebody long enough to buy my own plane and shit. I kind of had a whole little plan, and then it all fell apart. But hey, that was my plan. And you crash at least once a year. You just fly low enough that hopefully you don't fuck your plane up too bad.
Actually, well, I hate to say it's kind of the opposite. You want to be real high. That way, if something does go wrong, you got lots and lots of time.
Oh, fair enough. But usually they crash because the wings ice up. But yeah.
Oh yeah, well that's a completely different animal. And another issue that a lot of people overlook is carburetor ice. It can happen at any temperature, but according to the FAA, the prime conditions are between 70 and 20 degrees. And I've had that issue before. It's a little nerve-wracking when you firewall the throttle and nothing happens.
You know, I actually was watching a thing on JFK Jr. The other day, and I thought of you, Falcon, because he died in a plane crash, right? And he wasn't
Yes.
cleared for night flying. He was flying one of his newest planes. Like, he only had it and only flew it a few times. So he had it,
Well,
like,
the
what,
thing-
6 months?
Yeah, he didn't have it for very long. It was a Piper Saratoga. It was already a big airplane for someone with only the ratings with only the private pilot's license he had. Not only that, but he was VFR only. He did not have his instrument flight rules certification, which you can fly VFR at night, but where he was way outside of VFR limitations, and he was somebody that basically rich boy thought he was indestructible kind of thing. He had like a 300 or 400 hours, which 40 hours was required, but he had 300 or 400 hours before he actually went and got his private pilot's license. And when he was flying that day, it was a simple loss of orientation. So you think you're straight and level, but you put yourself into a left turn, but you keep it there, and you think you're level, but you end up with a spiral down, and then you turn a little bit more left, and then eventually you're pointed almost directly straight down. And by the time you realize what's going on, it's already too late. A friend of mine back in June, that's exactly how he died. And with both JFK Jr. and Mike, if they had both at the last moment pulled the yoke back as much as they can, it wouldn't matter. In JFK Jr.'s case, he was probably going about 170 knots, whereas my friend was going about 230. Either way, the airplane would not have been able to survive the stress. So JFK Jr. is a very, very, I hate to say it's one of the most common ways people die in an airplane. It's just a case of getting in over your head.
Yeah, what was he? I mean, okay, so you need markers to fly when you're not running instruments. So why are you flying over the goddamn ocean at night? You have no fucking, you have nothing.
Exactly. Not only that, but a lot of people have flown VFR at night in over like a city and confused the lights on the ground with the stars in the sky.
And he had a chance to have a co-pilot with him, and he told the guy no. That was mistake number one, right?
Well, that was one of many mistakes, but his first mistake really was arrogance. Arrogance and overconfidence. Not only that, but something I recently learned from a YouTube video, and there are actual good YouTube videos on aviation out there. The channel is called Flight Chops. pretty big fan of it. But one guy had on there said you should have written down, not in your mind, but written down on like your knee board or something, or like just on a piece of paper, like in your flight bag or whatever, what your limitations are. Because I know this firsthand. When you write something down, you will remember that.
Yeah, no, and I don't know. I don't think he was on any drugs or anything, but I do think he overworked himself at work. He ended up leaving late. He should have just either called it off or had the co-pilot, who probably was trained on instruments, fly for him.
Neither were, but everything said, dude, you should have just canceled the flight.
People die in planes. I mean, that's one thing. I don't have my issue with that. I mean, obviously it's sad that he died. I didn't have anything against him, and at the time there were a lot of people that were trying to push him to run for office. He himself, however, never really had a desire, it seemed, to actually try to run for office. But and that's all well and good, you know. I mean, I don't have anything against the guy. He was a raging leftist, but that's fine. What pissed me off was how they got the U.S. Navy to basically go berserk, all right, to find him in that plane.
Oh, yes.
That was ridiculous. All right, they mobilized basically an entire fleet to go out there to see what happened to it. And I understand it, but if that had been anybody else, if that had been just Joe Blow off the street, the U.S. Navy would never even been called in or even gotten involved.
Exactly, and to my knowledge, the United States Navy was not ever supposed to be contacted, but it was hey, this guy's a Kennedy.
I mean, yeah, he's related to a sitting senator, but so what?
Well, is it because of Teddy, or is it because his uncle was assassinated when he probably... well, we don't know if he would have won.
His father was assassinated.
Both were.
Well, he's JFK Jr.
That's true. That's true.
I was getting to his dad next. You got to save the best for last. I mean, jeez. But we'll cut straight to the chase. Yeah, and also his father was assassinated as the president. And his uncle probably would have became president, they say now, but who the fuck knows? You can't say he would have been president, right?
No, I mean, nobody knows if RFK would have been president or not. I mean, that's just the way it is. But yeah, no. Look, I didn't wish anything ill on the guy or anything else. But my problem is, I don't care who it was. It's like you guys mobilized the U.S. military to go after a private citizen, to go try and find a private citizen, and that wouldn't be the case if it had been anybody else. You think? I'll give an example. Do you think that if Jeb Bush did something like that and died, all right, the U.S. Navy would be called out to try and find Jeb Bush? Now?
Hell no.
Yeah, probably not, huh? I don't know. I wanted to say, yeah, sure, why not? But no, probably not.
You know, I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick about things, but it's like I don't think that anybody would care. Do you think that if George Bush's daughter, all right, had died, you know, gets in a plane and all of a sudden disappears like that, they're going to call it the U.S. Navy?
Are there any Kennedys left, or are they all gone?
There's always Kennedys. They're friggin' forever, like vermin.
I almost think that's where we should end it. I like that. That's the ending, guys. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Good night, good luck, and don't go to France. There's a war, you know.